Hey bunnies, how you going? Welcome back to the stream. Today we're playing some Gamedle, which, I mean, if you haven't heard of Wordle by now, I don't know where you've been, but it's basically video game Wordle. It's not video game Wordle, it's a mini game that changes every day. It's not really related to Wordle at all. That's just people using that word for a lot of things now. But there are 3 game modes. I've only seen the cover art game mode, and I'm really excited to try that out with Ordan, try and figure out what the game is. But there are also guess games by their specifications. I'm not sure what they mean by specifications, and there's one that guessing games by the keyword. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming they've been adding new modes over time because there's 3 unlimited modes which we're going to play because the unlimited mode. Actually, we might try the daily mode first and then go to unlimited afterwards just for fun. We'll see if that works. Because there is a daily mode for characters, guess the game character, which isn't in the unlimited mode, so I'm gonna assume that that's a new one. Specs, keywords, artwork, and cover art. So the artwork one is also a new one. I'm not sure if it's like fan artwork or if it's like a still from the game kind of thing. I'm not sure. So we'll do the daily modes and then we'll do the cover art because I like the cover art one. And maybe we'll try the unlimited guessing or keywords if we like that during the daily mode. I'll talk to Ordan first, who's probably sitting in the call now waiting for me to say something. So, yeah. Hello there.
Hey.
How you doing? I'm streaming the thing, right?
Yeah, you're sharing your screen.
Yeah, okay.
I also want to say, in preparation for this, I found some YouTube videos of guess the video game by this music.
Oh, interesting.
So if you want to try those as well,
that could be
those
fun.
are always fun. Yeah. So games like this are an absolute guilty pleasure of mine. Like I love just doing like guess the game by these things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good at these.
There's this person, I think it's 8-bit something, that I follow on TikTok, and they always do like a guess by like the scenario, like the world or something, and they'll have like pictures of that, or it'll do like pixel characters, and I always just like try that and see if I can get them all and send them to everyone.
I love doing shit like this.
So good. So I don't know. Were you in my stream? Did you hear me talking?
Yeah.
So we'll try the daily modes first, and then we can try some of the unlimited modes if we.
Yeah, there's also a weekly mode with video games maps.
Okay,
so that could be fun.
We can try that too. Yeah, we'll do daily, then we'll do weekly, and then if we have time, we'll do unlimited modes or the music ones. Okay, so we'll check the first cover art one. Do you know how to play? Yeah.
Nope.
So the cover art is just pixelated cover art.
Okay.
And every time you guess incorrectly, the pixelation gets slightly less.
Got it.
Yeah, so you're just guessing the game based on that, and you do have to do the number of game as well as the name of the game.
The specific number. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, is this like a Castlevania? No.
No. That like demon face looks very specific. Is this Phantasy Star?
Phantasy Star. Is that with a
Yeah,
PH?
my-
No.
No, yeah. Oh, is fantasy start with a PH?
I don't know. I can't.
Try with a PH, because like that sounds familiar with a PH.
I'm not sure. I don't know anything about it. I have heard of it. Yeah, it is the PH.
Fantasy
Should I
Star.
try it?
Sure.
There's an average guest attempt of 2. Is it? It's not like a Mega Man or something, is it? Or like an original Final Fantasy even?
I know Mega Man Final Fantasy. I will definitely have a weak spot for, or a weak point.
I'll try Fantasy stuff. There's 2
Okay.
apparently, at least.
There's
You
3
reckon the first
Phantasy
one?
Star
Okay.
games. So yeah, we could try the first one.
It's not that. Oh, okay.
Red,
Oh, I don't know
wrong.
what it is. There is a magnifying glass. So there's. It actually doesn't remove pixelations. It removes pieces of the thing.
Yeah, is it?
Oh, I don't know. That's not like a. That's not like. No, it's not like Earthbound or something. What is that?
No, Earthbound is way more friendly.
Yeah. There's like lights coming off like an orb. There's like some kind of scary. That looks like a claw there, doesn't it? On the top right.
Yeah, I recognize this. I actually do recognize this. I don't remember where. I don't think
It's not like Hero. No, it's not Heroes of Might and Magic. That's got like a more.
No. Is it? There's
28 people guessed and 2 average guess attempts for those people. These people know. I guess the 28 people must be the mega fans of gaming.
Also, they did it within 21 minutes of this being out because this is only
it's 21.
for like
Okay,
40
yeah.
minutes. So
I don't
is
know.
Is it Goblins and Ghouls?
I don't even know. I've never even heard of that.
Or is it Ghouls and Goblins? Try Ghouls and Goblins. I can never remember what. No?
Is Ghoul spelt weird?
I don't think so. Hold on, I know there's like a remaster.
Ghosts and Goblins?
Ghosts and Goblins, that's it.
It looks like it's got to be an original, not a resurrection, right?
I think it's gonna be the original.
Is this an alien? What is this? This looks like Alien. No, but it's not, because it's like it's way too
it's
H.
like
It's
alien.
way It's like
Is it like some old alien game that
I
like,
don't
we never heard of?
know. I don't recognize. Like, it just looks like a weirdly like it's like someone described Alien to someone else.
Yeah, it's like if you described Alien and told someone to draw it, this is what they'd make. Alien Swarm? Wait, no, we played that.
No, not that.
I swear, there was like some like early 2000s, late 90s, like Alien something.
Yeah.
game.
Do you reckon it's like an Alien, like an old school Alien game?
I don't think it's Alien. Is it Contra?
Should I try that?
Oh, it could be worth.
I'll try it.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't reckon it is an alien. I reckon it's like something else.
Is it just something fucking weird?
Oh, wait, it's not. No, it's not Alien Storm. It's like a. Should I try Alien Storm? No, they look a bit like that.
It is not Alien Storm.
It's not Alien Storm. You can't even choose Alien Storm. What?
No. Too obscure. Too obscure.
Too obscure. That's one of the only games I had on the Sega. Should I just try that Contra?
I bet it might be a Contra. I don't know anything about Contra.
The Alien War is. I don't know. Like, should I just click the? Is it like an Alien game? Do you know?
Alien on the poster.
But like, do you reckon? Like, are they all Alien games? Is the Alien Wars just?
I don't think. I think Contra is more of just like a military shooter.
So the Alien Wars might be the one.
It might be Alien Wars.
No. Okay, they didn't help me at all. That's still an Alien game. That's definitely an Alien game, right?
I have no fucking idea. What are the symbols by Contra?
What are
Like
the what?
The one we guessed. There's like little symbols.
Oh, shooter. Oh, it's a shooter. It's an arcade shooter.
And it's an arcade game.
Wrong franchise and saga though. Video Kart 26. Is that? Do you reckon that's an arcade game?
Sound like it at all.
No, like it's Alien Invasion. Oh no, yeah, hang on. It's got to be Alien, but what's Alien 3? Is there an Alien? No, because it wouldn't be an arcade game if it's a movie game. you know those games that came out at the same time as the movie that were like real cheap. It wouldn't be considered an arcade game. It wouldn't be an arcade game though, right?
Oh yeah.
And Alien vs Predator would have Predator on the cover.
Yeah,
so
AVP would have.
Is it Aliens Colonial Marines? I've never heard of that. That sounds like it could be an arcade shooter.
No, that's the shit one made by Gearbox.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like, that was a legendary for how bad it was.
Is it not an Alien game? There's no way it's not an Alien game, though. Is it Alien 3?
Fuck it, what's Alien? I don't even know what Alien 3 is.
I mean, it's gotta be a movie game. It's gotta be a game made with the movie.
Dumb as rocks.
It's not.
Oh,
what's the E?
What's the other tag?
What's the E?
Power.
Amiga? The developer? Is that the developer? I've never heard of Amiga. E?
At what point is it wrong to Google shit?
I feel like we just gotta guess wrong.
Okay. E?
Something power?
Lord Farquaad, Markiplier E.
E? You're right. It's Iron Lung. I've got no idea. This is definitely an Alien. It must be a H.R. Geiger game, right? Like a game inspired by H.R. Geiger and not Alien.
Maybe,
so it must maybe... No, it wouldn't predate Alien, right? Because Alien...
Is there James is called Morph? I don't know why that came to my
It's got an E. It's got an E. It ends with an E. And it's a trademark. Something power. So it's got to be like H.R. Geiger inspired game that's not Alien at all.
I have just this inkling. Okay, well, it's not that it's not on there.
E. It's a shooter, which is lending more to the Alien portion.
Yeah. This has to be an old fucking game that I've never heard of.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it's like around about the same time Alien was released, because otherwise they would have been hit.
Is this some fucking knockoff Alien game?
I don't know.
No one's ever fucking heard of.
No, what I reckon, because it looks more like a H.R. Geiger painting than a Alien game. I almost think that it's based off the paintings and not the franchise Alien. But maybe they just were like, oh, we can...
If it's...
I don't know what to guess. Should I skip one? No, because that'll give us the answer. Or it'll cut that off and give us nothing.
Or, yeah, it's,
It's unrelated to Alien.
I think it's also only 4 letters. Like, if you look at the font and the pixels.
Yeah, it looks like it might be only 4 letters. E. Freaking...
So, it could be
Brave.
Cove or...
Core?
Brave.
No.
Cove.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe because Core sounds alien, right? Like they could have been
Type in Alien again, because
there's only Alien 3, Alien Isolation, Videocart 26.
What happens if you type in power?
Power? Why? Oh, oh, you reckon that's part of the title?
I got it. It's Mario Power Tennis.
You're right. That's it. That's the one.
That's it.
That's the one. Let's go.
So it's a shooter by Amiga. What? Can I just Google Amiga? Is that cheating?
Well, they've clearly made all of the Alien games.
Yeah, clearly.
Thanks for the follow, Gamedle. How you doing? Is this actually the Gamedle dev, or is it someone whose username is just Gamedle?
Okay, I gave a Google to Amiga. They made the Commodore from 1985.
They made the Commodore. Okay, that's the system it's on, not the dev. All right, that's good to know.
Okay, how many Commodore games do you know?
There's got to be heaps, though, right? There's got to be heaps of shitty, small games on the Commodore. I'm sure of it. I got no idea. I'm going back to Heroes of Might and Magic. This has got to be that. You can tell by the HR Geiger inspired alien on the front. Should I just do the video cart thing? Do you reckon it's video cart 26 alien invasion?
Not?
That doesn't help me at all. Is it rape?
What was
That's the only word. Rope? What is... Oh, I've got no idea. Rise?
Rise? It almost looks like Rise of Nachos?
Rise of
That's
Nachos.
Oh, Nations. Like Rise of Nachos.
I've got no idea what this is. And we've got one guess left. It begins with something, something, something power. First the money, then the women. I don't know the rest of that quote. I think I said it wrong also.
Yeah, I think so too.
I never heard of this. No idea what it is.
Okay, I totally cheated. I might have an idea of what it is. But if that's that, I am insane. Like, that is insane if that's what this is.
Ram. Fatal Frame. Alright, what do you guess?
I actually know it.
Hi, Gamedle.
Is it Rogue?
Nice. Is it Rogue? Who are you?
It's me.
That's Chet. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Thanks.
I just reverse image search, so you are never guessing that at all.
Oh, nice. You reckon it's
Okay.
Rogue? There's no way it's Rogue, right?
I doubt it.
What?
I'm just guessing
in that
it.
picture gives you the idea that it's rogue.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
There's an R and
There's an R and an E. That's the only reason that you think it's Rogue. It's an arcade game made by Amiga. That's on the Amiga. That's it.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah, give us a hint.
Well, let's just say that in the name there's 6 characters.
There's 6
And then-
characters.
6 characters, and only 5 of them are letters.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Yeah. Do I mean like a full stop, a hyphen, a semicolon, a colon, an apostrophe, comma? What do I mean?
You mean they've invented a whole new language just to name a game? Is it the Prince logo? I think it must be the Prince logo.
It's gotta be the Prince logo.
Yeah. What does that even look like again?
I can't remember. It's like a
It's like a
weird
P with an
crucifixy
arrow
thing.
through it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like an ankh almost.
Um,
So what you're telling me is that none of the rest of the things in this pixelated box is a real letter. It's a like some kind of punctuation.
There's 3 letters in there.
Oh, there's 3 letters. There's another letter.
3
Okay.
letters are- yeah.
Is it an asterisk?
It's not rape.
It's
No.
not rape. We figured that out.
Don't think they can do that in a game. Okay, so the Prince logo is like the female gender symbol with like a trumpet going through it.
It's a beautiful description.
That's yeah.
I don't think we're getting this at all. There's no way we're getting this if there's not even
Is it
letters
R
in it.
dash? R dash? R type?
No, I can't be. There's too many letters. There's too many letters. Just type R and see what I can find that start with R, because there's actually not that many games on there. What the hell?
Oh, it's
It's not like it's just sorted by the most popular, I think.
do like RE dash.
That's Resident Evil.
Revolt?
Not Revolt.
Yeah, it's all the Resident Evil games popping up. There we go. It must be
Oh, it's
Resident
all
Evil.
just-
You're right.
Oh, Repo, clearly.
It's Repo.
Yeah.
I'm
there's a
just
lot- there's a lot-
gonna guess. I don't know what to guess because there's not even it's not even like a.
Is
I
it
feel like
like-
it's
is
R something letter something E, right? I'm assuming
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Red Dead Redemption.
It's taken my hint and just thrown it out the window.
Oh, well, you said there's there's multiple. There's
I
6
said
characters.
there's 6 characters, and
Six.
5 of them are definitely letters.
5 of them. I thought you said okay. Never
Oh,
mind.
I thought you said half of them.
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
So it can't have 2 hyphens.
is it like road E?
That sounds like
Roadie.
yeah, I look at that picture. I think, yeah, that looks like a roadie kind of game.
Yeah. Hey, you could be like some extreme death metal band. This is fucking what was that film called? Spinal Tap. It's like this is Spinal Tap. So all the characters aren't being like put in. One thing I'm seeing. So do you see in the non-pixel section next to the R? There's a little character that isn't censored. Can you like magnifying glass that?
Magnify.
Like there's something there.
It's got a point that doesn't help us. It's the same point as what's on the R.
Yeah. It's just a great spike of font.
Enhance.
I love that meme. It's like the Cotton Drama one. It just keeps asking him enhance, and it goes to like the quantum realm. Sorry, that's not how it works. Holy shit, you did it! The IRS.
I feel like it's
The
not
DMV.
an E for sure.
Lie, that's not how it fucking
We
works.
do O.
It's on an. It can't. It could be. I don't know how O's work in this font.
Yeah, I guess. Ray, R-A.
Rayman 2? It's Rayman 2 The Great
Is it
Escape. I
Rayman?
figured it out. Oh, shit. Me dicks. This hint doesn't help at all.
Was that the PlayStation 2 one?
I
Probably.
don't remember, probably.
I played the
Legends was
PS1 one.
PS3, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've only played
I
the
played
PS1
the
one.
second one on PS1. That was like the first 3D one.
Oh,
And they
okay.
had like another Rayman on the bloody PlayStation 2 that was just meh.
I played the
space pirates.
2D PlayStation 1. Actually, hang on.
There was a red.
I played-
what's the-
Oh, yeah, The Great Escape. That's the one I played.
I don't have Rayman here. I thought I had all my PlayStation games.
I don't know where all my PlayStation games are.
You got captured by the rabbits.
I got Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back.
Does that have an alien on it?
It might. I got Destruction Derby 2, which has 2 discs. 2 discs on a PlayStation 1 game? That feels weird.
Bro, I had
For a game
4
that's not
for
Final Fantasy, I mean.
I was like, fuck, I have so many discs for FF8, I haven't even finished that game.
Huh.
Him just distracting himself and trying to guess the game.
Yeah, I got distracted. No, I was trying to see. I must be. I'm missing games. I need to go check everywhere if I can find my Rayman game. Okay. I feel like it's too early for something games, right? Like
Yeah,
RE
we're not really-
colon. We're not like it's not an
Yeah,
anime
we're not really, like,
situation.
redoing
Yeah.
anything.
Is this like
So-
you only get one guess, like one game to guess per day or something?
There is an unlimited mode, but this is the daily.
Oh, so it's
These
suppose
probably- these are ones that
Gamedle,
are-
like Get Wordle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably supposed to be like the hard one.
Are you doing the unlimited road one today?
We will. Yeah, we're gonna go through all the
Yeah.
dailies. There's different types of games, and then we're gonna
Fuck
do
it.
the unlimited
This
Yeah.
screen annoys me. Let's
It's
pick
gonna be
Repo.
Repo. Yeah, it's Repo. We've figured it out. R-Type. It was R. Yeah, okay. I think I've heard of that.
I've never heard of that fucking game.
I can't believe Alien Storm isn't on the Gamedle list, though. That pisses me
No,
off.
that's-
Gamedle, if you are the real
Alien
Gamedle,
thing.
I know you're not watching anymore, but can you please add Alien Storm?
Real though, is the CCAD like on the website or is that actually like Twitch right now?
Oh no, it's on the website. I don't have an ad blocker.
I was gonna say like Twitch.
Alright.
Really
Artwork.
going above and beyond.
Holy crap, what is this?
Oh, I feel like I should know this.
Yeah, my
Oh,
brain's like,
fuck,
hang
I
on.
recognize
Like this
this.
feels like it's like a Jesse Cox game or something. Right? Like I'm thinking Date Everything or like Monster Prom, but it's not.
Is this like Dream Daddy?
I don't know why, but I'm really considering joining the Australian Defence Force.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually considering flying direct to Abu Dhabi, but I don't have the money for that right now.
Same. We should like carpool.
Yeah, I think if we buy enough pizzas from Pizza Hut, I see they have a Superman deal where if you get enough pizzas, you can go to Abu Dhabi. I guess Pizza Man, Superman flies you directly. I don't know.
This is a reference I do not get as an American.
This is definitely Smash Bros. Adventure Time Edition.
I think it might be. I don't. That art style just feels heavy. Like I'm thinking it is maybe at least the artist who made Dream Daddy, but I don't think it is Dream Daddy because that doesn't look like a Dream Daddy guy. I don't see Markiplier there.
Yeah.
And what are the other
Like,
pixels? What is that? What is
one.
that?
This isn't like kindergarten, is it? But no, kindergarten's more evil.
Yeah, and also, yeah, I don't. Kindergarten. Does kindergarten ever use these? I don't think.
No,
I think they're always weird
no.
pixely things.
Yeah, they're always like weird pixely things.
It is very Adventure Timey. This coffee. Wait, is this cat game? What's that game called?
Which one?
Freaking the one where you're where you run a cat cafe, but all of the cats turn into like people. It's by the same dev as Hatterful Boyfriend. Not Cat Quest. I feel like it's Cat something. Maybe it's not Cat something. Maybe it's
Vindicat?
No. What is that Cat Cafe game? I'm genuinely, my brain's not working for that Cat Cafe game. I think I have it. Look up Hatterful Boyfriend. I'm looking it up. You don't have to look at anything. I'm pretty sure it's by the same dev as Hatterful Boyfriend. Yeah, Hatterful Boyfriend's the bird one, but the dev made the cat game as well, I'm pretty sure.
There's one just called Cat Cafe Manager.
No, it's like a visual novel.
Oh.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe I just thought they did. Now I can't remember the name. Now I'm gonna need someone to look up. Press hard to continue and go through all of their visual novel games and see if you can find the Cat Cafe game.
We could type in a visual novel game and see if it gets the tag visual novel.
Okay, you want me to type in Hatterful Boyfriend? I feel like the thing is, looking at it, I would almost assume that it's a visual novel, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's not giving us anything, but I can do it. There are cats. This is not... I don't think this is the game I thought it was, though. In fact...
What tags we got?
Is that the piano? No, I think this is Date Everything. That's the piano from Date Everything, isn't it?
Is this Date Everything?
This is Date Everything.
Wow, they are up to date.
Let's go!
Damn.
I was like, okay, so it's like this is not artwork from the devs, right? This is someone drew this. I reckon it's like a person who draws visual novel artwork, and that's why we were like, holy shit, we know this. Yeah, but they made it Date Everything. Yeah. Okay, cool. That was easier than I expected. I don't recognize this person from Date Everything. Oh, it's the clock. That's the clock. That's why the numbers on their hair. That makes sense. And that's like the cat clock. That's like a normal. That's the grandpa clock, maybe. I don't know. All right, character. Let's go.
I think we saw something and said, "Oh, this is like Date Everything."
And then it is Date. Yeah. Oh, we get to see some groin. No, that's not groin. That's a chest hair.
No, that's chest hair. This I feel like this one I'm gonna get.
Wait, that is a groin. We found a groin.
Yep, that is groin.
Is that Alien?
Isolation? I feel like it. Is it Alien Isolation?
What? Is that
one average guess attempt? I feel like it must be. Do you actually reckon it's Alien Isolation?
I feel like it's an Alien game.
See it being Alien Isolation.
Amanda Ripley.
Oh, you actually have to look at the character? You do. Okay.
Amanda Ripley, Alien.
You reckon? I've not played an Alien game ever, so I couldn't tell you.
Well, first off, change that. The Alien Isolation is amazing. Second, I think my only question is that the exact color of her jumpsuit?
I don't know. I don't recognize the jumpsuit at all, so I don't. As far as like the movie,
I almost
Ripley.
wonder if it's 2 HD for a 2013 game.
Am I allowed to Google Alien Isolation to verify?
It's on. It says Alien, not Alien Isolation, so I feel like
Well,
it's not Isolation.
Her daughter only exists in that.
Oh, okay.
Isolation, yeah.
So it's just from the franchise. It's not actually from the game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What? Do you want me to verify?
No, don't. I'll type it in. I'll type it in. We're verifying
I'm
it.
already on the page.
I literally can't
It is.
ever-
Yeah. Okay.
It is a
Cool.
okay. I was gonna say I don't
Cool.
think we actually ever see her, but no. Okay.
Female.
Well, I just recognize the jumpsuits. That's a fucking alien jumpsuit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Now, okay.
Keyword.
Try to guess the video game in less than
Oh,
6 attempts
dear
based on the
God.
clues presented to you in the form of phrases, words, emojis, or pixelated cover art. Try to combine all this
Fuck
information to
this.
decipher which game is hidden behind the clues. So it's like all the clues, not just.
Okay. Not
Okay.
like one of them.
So game's incorrect. Game shares the same franchise, not the same saga. Green means it shares the same franchise and saga. If the game you tried to guess matches any of its genres, they are displayed next to the name
Yep, okay.
and platforms. Dodging, crafting, dungeons. That's got to be dodging, crafting, dungeons.
Crafting is the one that gets. I was gonna say Hades, but
That doesn't. Yeah.
Valheim.
Does dodging? Do you reckon dodging
is there a dodge craft? Is there a dodge mechanic in Valheim?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, I can put it in.
Like,
I was
literally.
thinking Lego. What's that Fortnite game? Lego Adventures.
Lego Fortnite.
You know
No,
the
it is just
Lego
literally Lego
Minecraft
Fortnite,
game?
isn't it?
Is it just Lego Fortnite?
No.
Yeah.
It is just Lego Fortnite.
No. Okay, we've got questing. Okay.
Oh, well, look what we got. Look what we got right though. We got.
Oh,
it's
do
on
you reckon
Xbox,
it's-
Windows?
Xbox, Windows, PC. Okay, not Nintendo Switch. I was gonna say, do you reckon it's like
Or-
Zelda Breath of the Wild
It's also not.
on PlayStation? So it's an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. That also because my other
That's-
immediate guess was
So,
It's Forza.
Forza
Yeah, you're right.
Horizon.
dodge those L's, craft
Apocalypse.
those wins.
Now, shit, you don't dodge in that game, do you? No, I was gonna say Fallout, but traversal. Oh, no, that's on PlayStation.
Apocalypse is
Yeah,
dying.
X-
Yeah, do you gonna say Dying Light?
No, that's on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Unless it is Dying Light. No,
It's
that's
no,
on
because
PlayStation.
Dying Light's on PlayStation, isn't it?
But dungeons.
Yeah, there's no dungeon. There are, yeah, they're kind of dungeons, but I don't know.
It could be Dying Light.
How
because that definitely has
literal
dungeons.
do they want?
Yeah, that's I don't know. Dodging, crafting, dungeons, questing, traversal. So it is an apocalypse. It's only on
apocalypse
Xbox.
game.
Is 7 Days to Die an Xbox exclusive console game?
Oh, it might be.
They don't really have dodging though, do they?
You don't have dodging, yeah.
Does it say Xbox or Xbox like specific?
The last guest said it's only on
One and
Xbox.
two.
Oh no, hang on. Is Valheim an Xbox exclusive? Is that why?
No, I think it's just on that platform.
Okay. So we've got PC, Xbox, and Xbox Series X, which makes me think that it's exclusive because Valheim is on other consoles or other.
Yeah, Valheim's on Switch, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Quest-
One
it's a
average
questing
guess attempt
now.
from dodging, crafting, and dungeon. So it must be an easy one. Like it must be like
Is it-
clearly.
Is it Minecraft? Is it Minecraft Dungeons? Like, is it that fucking
Oh,
easy?
maybe.
That was my first guess.
Do you craft in Minecraft Dungeons?
I don't think you do.
It's
You don't
like
do.
Diablo.
Minecraft, but I would. My other guess is Minecraft Dungeons.
Like, I play it and you kind of just like loot everything.
So it's technically. I don't know if you could even really say it's an
In the game.
apocalypse.
Wait, is Minecraft really apocalyptic?
It's like technically, but like not really.
In the lore.
Yeah, in the lore, that's just a theory, a game theory. The thing that I'm interested in is traversal now, though.
Traversal.
That's why I was like, is this Dying Light? Because like that makes me
Yeah.
think you've got like vehicles or
I
like
will
some
say,
kind of
like,
tool.
Dying Light has crafting, dodging, possibly dungeons, questing, definitely traversal, definitely apocalypse.
Definitely apocalypse, which is why
we could do Dying Light.
Dying Light
I
and
would
see what
say
matches.
I think Dying Light
Hey.
2. Maybe Dying Light 2 Stay Human.
What do you reckon, Ched? What do we
Oh, we can get a guess out of it, you know. See
send
where
it?
we're
All
going.
right. Oh, okay. So it is on PlayStation. It is
That one's on
just
PlayStation,
Valheim's
okay.
not on PlayStation.
All right.
We got a shooter. It is a shooter.
Armor sets, boss fights, loot system.
So it's a shooter. It's not Borderlands.
Is that what's that?
Armor sets.
Oh, the Division, is that what you're thinking of?
Remnant?
Remnant from the Ashes. Okay, now we know it's on place. Actually, no, those are on PlayStation now. Is it Horizon? Horizon Zero Dawn, but I don't know if that has like loots, like armor sets.
Yeah, I don't know. Does Division have armor sets? Dead silence?
Haven't played it.
No, has anyone played Division?
I've never played Division. I don't think it has armor sets. I thought that game was just shit.
No, like there's boss fight, because there is boss fights, there's a loot system. I assume if there's boss fights, there must be an armor set. I don't have any idea about the crafting situation.
I don't know about dodging either.
I feel like I remember seeing dodge rolls and stuff, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to put it in because we all don't know enough about it to consider
I would
it.
say like the only thing tripping me up with Horizon would be armor sets.
What about Diablo?
Oh, is Diablo post-apocalyptic?
It was pretty apocalyptic.
Does Diablo have... The new ones have dodging, don't they?
I think technically, yeah.
Does the new one does any Diablo have a crafting?
I didn't play enough of
gems in your
Diablo 4.
weapons.
Does that count as crafting?
Probably not.
I really want to watch Task right now.
Oh yeah, I love Amazon.
All right. I would say Diablo no. I'm gonna go Horizon Zero Dawn to get some more info.
Go Horizon Zero Dawn.
I think Diablo I wouldn't say has traversal.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't really say it has dodging either.
I think there's a bit of dodging, but not really. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is a good bet.
Dark fantasy skill traits. That doesn't help us. We already knew it was an RPG.
Is this fucking Monster Hunter?
Did Monster Hunter does that technically have dungeons though?
Is it technically apocalypse?
Is it technically a dark fantasy?
In the lore, it's an apocalypse, but
because it kind of sounds like they're all just having fun there.
There is like lore that is an apocalypse. Like there's like ancient tech, like deep underground.
The thing that's getting me. Wait, what's that game that freaking Peachy played?
I mean, it's just Dark Souls.
It's like Disavowed or something. It was like a Dark Souls-y crafting game that was like popular when it released for like a week and then everyone stopped playing it. It's like multiplayer. Or was it you that played it? Maybe it wasn't Peachy at all. It's like Disavowed.
There's a game called Disavowed that's free.
Is that a Dark Souls-y
No, it's a
crafting
2D platformer.
Okay, it's not that one.
There's Remnant.
Maybe what's Remnant got? This dark fantasy thing is making me think it's more of a Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Dark Souls-y shooter.
So should we try Remnant?
Yeah, there's Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2. Weak points probably means like you want to place your shots properly.
Yeah. It's a loot system. Does it... Oh.
Remnant's starting to sound like a good guess. And I'd also like to point out that Ched did say Remnant at like the second level.
Did. Should we try Remnant? From the Ashes?
Let's do From the Ashes.
Right.
It was Remnant. I didn't actually hear you say right.
fucking
Video is
God.
age restricted. I can't watch it on
I
YouTube.
heard him just say Remnant, like with the second tier.
Yeah. Okay. I
Goddamn.
actually wasn't thinking of that game, but when I said
Yeah.
Remnant,
Oh, there was that super gory one, but
Yeah, you guys suck.
yeah, sorry, I didn't actually hear you say Remnant, and I didn't really know what it was.
You did. I said it. You guys repeated it back to me.
I am stupid. That's my.
I didn't think traversal with that one.
Yeah, that would have been. If I had realized what Remnant was, I probably wouldn't have said it for traversal reasons.
Wait, what the fuck is this one?
I don't think it gave me a help thing. Did it give me a help thing?
Just guess.
The help thing's here, I guess.
Yeah, okay, red. No,
The game you have chosen is older than the game to guess. Arrow down, the game you have chosen is newer than the game to guess. Oh, you just type. Okay, you type a game and it goes, it's newer or older. So should we try something middle ground? Let's do a Minecraft.
Yeah, let's go Minecraft. That's like, well, actually, when will they decide that Minecraft came out?
Oh, that's true. I don't know. We could try it.
Like 2010-ish. Minecraft.
There's too much
Platforms,
information.
All of them. It's older than
Minecraft. It's a simulator game with adventure.
Not the right. It's got survival, fantasy, sandbox, kids, and open world.
Open world survival game.
It's
open world survival sim.
And VR is wrong. Sims. Try the Sims. Like, just straight up try the Sims.
Fantasy? I guess there's fantasy elements in the Sims. This is as co-op. It says it's co-op.
Co-op, okay.
You can't play co-op Sims. So that's... Wait, sorry, I didn't read that part. Oh no, there's red. Okay, so yellow is the things we need to think about. The red stuff. So we don't actually know the platform that it's on.
Wait, it's not any of those platforms? Where else do you play this game?
Yeah. You know what? I think this might be another Commodore game.
Alright, go Zork.
Wait, hang on. Simulator, Adventure, Sand... Do you reckon it's Spore?
I'm feeling like it's one of those older...
Oh, wait, it's an MMO.
Game. It's not a first-person game, a third-person game, or virtual reality.
MMO?
RuneScape!
Oh, wait, hang on. How does this work?
You can play RuneScape on Windows.
It's yellow. It says yellow. It means one or more clues are correct. Which sucks because you can play all of... Like, there can be any of that for Minecraft. So we don't have any idea.
We know... Okay, on, you go.
How about you guess like a really old game on a really old console that's not listed there?
We need to have a less open game than Minecraft. That was actually a bad first guess.
Actually, we know all of those platforms it is not on.
You're right. We also know it was definitely not Mojang.
Yeah. We know it's not first person, third person, or VR as well.
This is true. So it's got to be like a top down kind of thing. So what you're saying is it's Heroes of Might and Magic.
I have an idea.
It's Zork.
I have an idea. Golden Axe.
All right. You're right. Let's do Pong. Let's do Pong. All right, Golden Axe. The first one?
Sure.
So what you're saying is it's older than 2009 and it's
not a side scroller.
Newer than 1989.
It was also not made by Virgin Interactive.
No data on game engines? Why are you allowed to type it in if there's no data on the game engines?
Fuck, it's fucking written in ones and zeros.
Oh, I like that it's got all these. It's definitely not a Sega game.
Sega, not Team should know if we made Golden Axe.
It's not a side view game. So it has to be a top-down game.
Try original. It's not fantasy or action.
Which means that's unrelated. So it could be Spore.
But it's not third person.
I'm still confused about...
It's not on this Commodore 64. We are safe.
Nice. I am confused about this. How are there so many platforms here that it's not on?
Because Golden Axe is banger. Yeah, what the fuck is this playing on? Is this one of those Ouya knockoffs?
I don't know what words just came out of your mouth. What the hell's an Ouya?
It was like a fucking knockoff mobile phone emulator. It was a full-featured console made to play mobile games.
Lance.
It failed instantly.
Do you know? No. I was going to say, do you know what console that Minecraft is not on? PS5, but it also has to be younger than 2009, so that's not going to work.
Yeah, it's also older than 1989.
No, newer than that. It's got to be in between.
Yeah, newer.
Yeah.
What? Is there a Virtual Boy game that you know of?
I'm so confused. I feel like we're interpreting this data wrong.
Do you want to try to get the year correct?
I guess we should go for the year.
Older than 2009, newer than 1989. You want to do Ocarina of Time because that's 98.
Ocarina. No, we need. I think we go top view games too to lock that in.
Let's see.
Is Heroes of Might and Magic before Golden Axe or after it?
I don't know anything about that one.
I'm typing in Heroes of Might and Magic. That is both a top-down game.
Pokemon Yellow.
I see. It also could be a Pokemon. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go Pokemon.
Like, want to Pokemon Red?
I'm maybe not going Yellow.
Yellow's 2000.
Yellow's 2000. Okay, let's go Pokemon Yellow.
Spell yellow correctly.
Shut up. It's not on the Game Boy.
Older than 98. It's not on the Game Boy.
It's an in-house engine, which sucks. It is a Nintendo game or a Game Freak game?
I'm gonna say it's Nintendo, but it is an isometric, and like Nintendo only make. Is it a actually, hold on. What aren't the genres?
I'm gonna say it's not fantasy. Sorry, it's not fantasy. So it's a kid open world theme.
What's genres?
It's not a turn-based strategy. It's not a role-playing game, and it's not an adventure game. So it is a simulator.
It's a simulator. What simulators does Game Freak make?
It's an open world simulator. It's either open world or a kids simulator.
Didn't Game Freak only make Pokemon, really?
Yeah, I think it's Nintendo, not Game Freak.
It must be a Nintendo. Okay, is it Nintendogs?
Game Freak did make another game, but it's not that. Oh, it's Nintendo. It's total. No, wait, Nintendogs isn't. Does that? That's like first person. Like, it's not on the. Wait, hang on.
It's not on the 3DS. Nintendogs was something weird, wasn't it?
What does this mean?
Could be Nintendo.
Is Pokemon Yellow on the Color, the Game Boy, and the 3DS, but not the DS?
Yeah, it's probably remastered for the 3DS. Nintendo likes doing that. Like the.
Do you reckon it's on the DS, which Nintendogs is? No, because Nintendogs is also on the 3DS, isn't it?
I'm not a Nintendogs fan. I'm sorry.
Wow.
He's just trying to cover up.
Yeah.
He knows he is.
Hey, I sold my soul to Tamagotchi.
Sick fuck.
Or Game Boy Advance. Do you reckon that?
Wait,
or do you reckon that's part of Game Boy?
It says GB and GB Color.
Does the GBA count as a whole separate?
I don't know if it counts as a separate thing. That's why I'm interested.
The Super Nintendo and the NES and the SNES are two different consoles. Then.
That's true. I don't know. Should I just try Nintendogs just to? I don't think it's Nintendo. Oh, I forgot this. What? This is DLC, isn't it? Oh no, was there different? Was there like a Pokemon Yellow and Red for freaking Nintendogs? Did I not know that? I swear they've never had those tags behind them.
I've never heard of. I don't know. I mean,
I'm just gonna click this one.
What I've heard of.
All right, yeah, it's a simulator.
And it's older than 2004.
What does that mean? Oh, it's kids and other themes, is what that means. Okay, it's definitely kids. I reckon it's an open world kids game, to be honest, but maybe not. It has
to be a Nintendo game. And you were right, the Nintendo is first person.
Yeah, I thought that was what was going to happen.
And it's Nintendo. And
It's
Nintendo.
not the DS or the
It's not
DSi.
Okay, if you split the DS and DSi, then
Yeah.
GTA can be two different consoles.
But I'm confused about Simulator now because I don't have.
I wanted to say Fire Emblem, but ain't fucking that.
Nintendo didn't make Lemmings, did they? That's actually side view. That doesn't count.
Yeah, it has to be
What?
isometric.
Yeah, is it Fire Emblem? It's hang on. It's
no, because
in between 2005 and 1998. Is Fire Emblem in there?
64?
Wait, no, it's on Nintendo something.
But what about SimCity?
Is SimCity on Nintendo something?
And
And only Nintendo something? I feel like it's not.
SimCity 64 is on the 64DD.
You just said numbers and letters at me.
I did. That's what it says. That's the only console it's listed on.
Like it's either a Game Boy Advance or it's what have we got for the Nintendo systems? We got the Wii there. It's not on PC DOS, if you were wondering.
Not on PC DOS.
It's not on the
Linux.
Switch.
It's not on Amazon Fire TV.
Well, I mean, we're assuming it's only on Nintendo because it's old enough for Nintendo to only have Nintendos. So it's not on the Switch. It's not on the Wii. It's not on the 3DS, Game Boy, or Color. It's not on the DS or the DSi. So it's a Game Boy Advance or it's on a GameCube. Yeah.
It's on the Game & Watch.
Game & Watch is platformer, isn't it?
Wait, is it Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing is a simulator. It's kids. It's top down. When was it released? Do you reckon it's in between those?
The GameCube. I think it is. Try the first Animal Crossing.
2001.
Hey!
Hey! Yeah!
How many guesses did we get? Does it tell me?
Not that many, I don't think. We got
Let's see, 5. We were above average. Let's go.
Boom.
All right. Do we want to do the weekly now?
Let's do the weekly. That sounds like fun. This was like the biggest map, right? Oh,
wait.
it's like a ton of weeklies.
Oh, you can you can like play the old ones.
Let's see. Games no
Week of video games, the biggest
That's
maps.
Burnout Paradise. That's Burnout Paradise.
Easy win, boys. Oh, there's a streak situation.
Yep.
It's okay. Let's go. I know that Elden Ring. Okay. It's good. I didn't recognize that as a tree. I thought that was like Last of Us-y, but
better not specify to like Shadow the Erd tree or some shit.
No, this is the default Elden Ring art, isn't it?
Okay.
Maybe.
I think so.
I don't recognize. Like I don't know, but like the yellow in the middle makes me think it's Elden Ring because I don't think they focus the Erd tree. Yeah.
Yep. Elden Ring.
Sick.
Them rings do be Elden.
Ooh.
What's that Overwatch? That's not. Is that Ninja Gaiden, like the new one?
That's like an elf. What is that? Is this Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of something?
No, Shadow. No, the Shadow games look different.
Massive pixels. This is obviously Minecraft.
Isn't Ninja Gaiden like purpley red cover art?
It might be. No, that one's not open world. Because I'm also thinking open world. Like,
because seeing the creatures, lots of sparks, and the white background makes me think Space Marine. But Space Marine doesn't have like a map. It's not open world.
Yeah. That one game with the thing.
You're right. It's that one game with the thing. That one game. No. Sorry, they don't have that one. I'll try Ninja Gaiden.
Okay.
What's the new one called?
Then I don't. Isn't it a remake of the first one?
I don't know.
Aren't they on 4?
I don't know. I guess it's not Ninja Gaiden. Let's just assume that's not Ninja Gaiden then.
It's probably not Ninja Gaiden. Are there? I feel like I feel like I know what this game is, but I don't think I knew it was open world. It's not like Ghost of Tsushima, is it? I thought that had more like black and
Ghost
white
of
colors.
Sushi. This ear is what's getting me. That's clearly like an elf.
I thought it was like a scar or something.
Is it a scar? It looks like a weird little gremlin
It could
thing.
be a rock, and we're all very confused.
Maybe. And the sparks. The sparks could definitely be like Ghost of Tsushima. Do you want me to just put Ghost of Tsushima? I thought it. I didn't think it looked like that, but.
Should we try Ghost of Tsushima?
No.
No.
Yeah, these are orcs. These are orcs. That's for sure an orc.
War? Is it Shadow of War? Because I thought Shadow of War looked different.
It could be Mordor.
No, it would be War. It would
What was
be
that?
War.
Your first guess was Shadow of War.
Yeah. There we go. It's the right franchise. It's Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, is it straight up Shadow of Mordor? Or is it like a different Middle-earth game?
Correct franchise.
Guardians
So it's got to
of
be a Shadow of
Middle-earth.
Mordor. What?
No.
What?
Is it?
Is that Guardians of Middle Earth? I've never.
Oh wait! Is it Lord of the Rings Online?
Didn't even know there was an online one.
I don't know.
No one's
I
played
think
it,
there
but
is
I think
like
it
a-
exists.
I think there's like a battle for Middle Earth or something.
There's also
like
a
that.
tower defense
Type in-
game, but that doesn't have a
type
map.
in Lord
So
of the Rings, because that's 100% Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings
Lord of
Online.
the Rings Online.
Do you reckon?
Yep.
I genuinely think it is.
I definitely don't
Yeah.
think it's
Lord
gone.
of the Rings Online.
It's not Lord of the Rings Golem. Okay, and Need for Speed.
Forza Horizon.
Forza Horizon. Okay, I don't know any
Listen
Forza
to these
games.
before I've even loaded the next fucking picture.
Nice.
Just look at the stream.
Well, you're looking at the stream. I'm streaming it on
Yeah, he's streaming in Discord.
the Discord to make it faster.
If you want light real time.
God damn it.
Guesses.
Oh shit! Which one?
Oh, it's like
4.
3,
what's the
4?
right- Is it 4?
I don't know.
I feel like it's 3, but I could be wrong. I'll do 4.
It looks like whatever the newest one is.
Why did that not work? Wait, I'm confused. What's going on? Why does it say
you get
correct
it
franchise
right?
and saga for... Did I break the game?
Did you win? Did you defeat this game?
Change the number to
Try
5.
the newest one.
Yeah. Is 5 the newest? Oh,
What is it? What do you mean correct franchise and saga?
It's
It's
5.
5. But what do you mean? I'm right. You said I'm right. Well,
Yeah. What's wrong with you, game? Huh?
Zelda. It's the other one.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you see the sky.
Zelda, the Queen's dead.
Zelda, the Queen is dead.
You heard about that, right?
Oh, I did. That was fucking
They
funny.
delayed the game because they didn't want
Which
Tears
is
of the
like-
Kingdom to come out the same time the Queen died.
The Queen, yeah, the same time the kingdom was crying.
Could you give me The
Very
Witcher
tough.
3, please?
The
Oh,
Witcher
is
3
Wild
was
Hunt
fun,
what it's
yeah.
called? I thought Wild Hunt was
Yeah.
the DLC.
No.
That's
Ghost of Tsushima. No,
that's Ghost.
That is
No,
Assassin's Creed. That's Assassin's Creed Shadow. I know that controversy anywhere.
that's 3 games. I know that anywhere.
Okay, I was like,
What's it called?
Tsushima.
Shadow. Assassin's Creed Shadow.
It's not coming up as like Assassin's Creed.
Maybe just
Did I
try
spell?
AC.
Do the comma S. It's so picky. With
Oh, it's the
Assassin's Creed.
comma. Okay,
We'll just type in shadows.
I did and I couldn't find it, so I'm.
Shadow.
You're allowed to get the
Shadows.
correct
There you
hits.
go. There you go. I know that controversy anywhere.
Valheim?
That's
Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh, it's Valhalla. Okay. All Assassins. I'm just typing in
Assassin's
Valhalla.
Creeds always have massive maps that like don't mean shit.
Correctly.
Just copy paste Assassin's Creed. at this point.
Assassin's Creed. Yeah, there's like 6 maps.
Last of Us.
Watch
Is that Daisy?
Dogs.
Daisy. You're right. It's Daisy.
Oh, is that Daisy? Yep, Daisy. I haven't seen that since the fucking alpha. That is
That's important.
that Black Flag or 3? That's another Assassin's Creed game. Is it Black Flag or 3?
It's got to be Black Flag. I don't think they had
Yeah,
ships in
3's on
3.
ground.
There
did
was a
with the
ship,
size-
but yeah.
It's just not as like prominent. I believe it's Black Flag. Yep.
So many Assassin's Creed games.
Assassin's Creed games are massive.
Give me a Far Cry at least. I wonder what this
I
is.
think that's the clue.
Ooh, that's Avatar.
Oh, that is
the game that
Avatar.
no
That is
one
an
played.
Avatar
We got a
game.
Far Cry game. Let's go.
Far Cry Pandora.
Assassin's Creed?
I think that one's actually it might be Odyssey.
It's not Odyssey?
I'll put it there. I don't think it's 3. There were arrows in 3, or there was, but no, the cover art
But
looks different for 3.
there's a shield. There's a shield there.
I think.
Oh no, that's a flag. That's a flag, not a shield. But there's arrows, so like.
I think this.
That's a spear.
Is Forza.
That's Odyssey.
I think this is Horizon. Right?
This is Forza?
I think this is Horizon Zero Dawn.
But there's like spears and arrows.
That's Horizon Zero Dawn. It's like
They have
stuff.
tech spears though, don't they? And that's not a robot. That's a person fighting a person.
I will also this. My other guess is Odyssey.
I reckon it's
Assassin's
Odyssey.
Creed I think it's Odyssey. Okay, you can do Odyssey.
Abe's Odyssey. That's what I reckon it is.
Odyssey.
It's definitely Assassin's
I
Creed
genuinely don't. I just bought the
I-
Odyssey. I don't know how to spell it.
OD. There
It's
we
literally
go.
right there. It was the first one.
I don't
Yeah.
speak Greek.
Why do people give people the fucking suggestions? Oh my
Wow.
god. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's Warcraft 4. Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne.
Never gonna happen. Warcraft 4. Never gonna happen.
By
That's what-
Sylvanas.
That's what Frozen Throne is, for
Call
sure.
of Duty World at War.
Call of Duty World at Warcraft. That's not a map. That's not a real map. That's a picture of a map.
It's just speculation.
What is
shit?
Battlefield?
What
No.
the fuck? No, it can't be Battlefield.
What is
Actually, it
this?
could be. Arma? Is it
Armor
Arma
could,
or
yeah, I could
something?
see Armor. I don't know what one it is. I guess 3 is the most popular.
Maybe I was actually gonna say like Arma Reforged.
They might. No, it's like a mod situation. It's not.
Is it mod?
I typed in Armor. There's only 2 armors. There's 2, 3, and
It's the original ain't even on here. You'll fuck Arma 1.
I'm gonna pick 3. I feel like
Yeah,
it's not
that's my
Armor,
best
but
guess.
I'm gonna
Well, we'll
go
get
for
more
it.
if it's not Arma.
Oh, okay.
Arma 3.
Nice.
I was like, hey, that's. God, I forgot that game fucking sucks. That
Battlefield?
is
That's
Ghost
Battlefield 3,
Ghost
isn't it?
Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm calling Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Ghost. That's that was a keyboard error. Breakpoint?
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Nice.
I fucking know my games. Operation.
Flash. That's a like thing. Is it just
Flash
called Operation
Gordon?
Flashpoint?
I think it might be Operation Flashpoint.
What the fuck's this?
Oh, it's a Dragon Riser Cold
That's gotta
War
be
Crisis.
Cold War Crisis, right?
It's so cold in that image, yeah.
It's okay. It's the other one, I guess.
That's the other one. Dragon Rising. That one sounds cooler. We should have picked that
Yeah.
one.
For some reason, the words Dragon Rising made my brain think of that one game with the dragon motif that was like a cyberpunky version of a game that had nothing cyberpunky in it. I can't remember what the game's called. I
Ghost?
think you recommended
like-
it to me.
Was that the Ghost Runner one? It's like that cyborg parkour. Oh no,
Maybe-
Shadow Warrior.
Shadow Warrior, that's what I was thinking of. Oh, this is
Black
Desert
Desert.
Online, like I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Black Desert.
I thought it was online. Okay, fine. Just Black Desert,
No,
I guess.
they dropped the dessert, or the offline.
They dropped the dessert. what were they having? They just dropped like a whole plate of tiramisu on us.
That's
Xenoblade Chronicles. Does Xenoblade Chronicles have? I didn't know that was an open world game.
I don't know.
It could be one of these. I thought the original didn't.
X.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I wonder what this is.
I wonder what that is. I bought this game in like a 4-pack to play with like myself, Matt, Isaiah, and Peachy. And then Matt was busy. I wonder what that is. Isaiah just started playing through it all, and the whole game like fell apart.
This is the original, right?
Yeah, it's the original.
Nice. I like how you just see
Very-
freaking old mate from.
Yeah. Imagine if PT was in this.
There's no way.
Oh, I know this.
Yeah, I recognize
know
this. What is
this.
this?
It's
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm.
Is it? No, it's not Max Payne. I recognize this.
Yeah, it's like I mean, maybe I'm just thinking of The Godfather. Like, what's that one
It's
with the
very
white?
Godfather.
Yeah.
It's also very Scarface.
Is it a mafia game? No, that doesn't have open world, does it?
No, that some of them do, I believe. I know Old Country doesn't, but I thought Mafia 2 did.
What's happening with the pixelation here? It looks like there's no more letters at the top. Like it's like time or something. Time to die. Is it is it like a really open world Bond game? Is it that 007 game that was announced that isn't released yet?
Shit. That's their own press conference they made look god awful.
Nice.
The other one I think of is was like Sleeping Dogs, but that doesn't match the.
I feel like the start is
what
like
comes
time or something. Time?
Type in time.
It's Time Crisis.
That looks like a hat in time.
Anything. It could be like time, like something, and then the name of the game at the bottom.
Could be crime.
It could be crime. It's not Crime Sinclair. That doesn't have open world, or it has like pretty big maps. Kingpin, Life of Crime. Kingpin and Life of Crime. Ooh, maybe it's a true crime. There's no true, unless the black is true. Actually, I just realized that could be letters too.
This looks like New York City. If we
you reckon? True crime, New York City. See what's going on. All right, correct franchise. It's the other one.
No, it is LA.
I've never heard of this game.
I've never. This sounds like one of those GTA knockoffs.
It's so a GTA knockoff.
2003. Yeah, up there with like Driver 3.
Look at that.
That's a tiny ass map.
Look at that.
Fuck
They've just been like, all right, we can make an LA crime game as well.
I guess.
Ooh, I wonder what this is.
Oh, I want this one.
It's N and.
It's the first quadruple A game they sold on a website. Not any of the digital stores.
Is anyone actually playing that game anymore?
No, the only one I saw play that game was sponsored to play it, and they stopped as soon as they stopped getting sponsored.
The only person I saw play it were the devs, and they immediately got stream sniped.
To be fair, from what I've heard, the people who are still playing the game is getting more. The game's having a bit of a No Man's Sky, where they're adding more and more content.
10 years. I'll give it 10 years.
Just Cause
3. Oh, we're never getting that.
Well, hopefully,
I want it.
Fix up that shit.
Yeah, after Just Cause 4 was a literal dumpster fire.
Is that not the game? It's did I spell? Is it Ashes? Is that way? I'm confused. Is that not a game? I thought that was the. Okay.
What?
It's not Ashen. Cool. It must be. It's none of these. It's none of these. Does anyone know what this is? I thought it was Ashes of Aeon, but that's actually not a world. Never mind. That's not going to be there anywhere.
Asheron's Call.
Is it Asheron's Call? It must be. It has to be. That's the only way it could be.
Maybe. That or it's just Ashen.
What the fuck is this game?
99. It's a tower defense? Holy fuck.
There's no way that's a tower defense. What? No, yeah, RPG.
Okay, that's actually, insane. There was like a time when they had like super simple RPGs that could be giant as fuck.
Oh, it's like a Oblivion situation where every door is a new world. Okay. What do we think here? Is this Need for Speed? This is gonna be Need for Speed, right?
Is that Burnout Revenge for the PS2?
It could be. I've never played a Burnout game. It's not. Wrong franchise. I reckon it's Need for Speed Heat.
Yeah. Heat. I thought
is that not Heat? Which one is it? It's not Heat?
Is it Undercover?
It's not Undercover. Oh, wait, is it Most Wanted?
No, Most Wanted is shinier.
Hot Pursuit 3.
I feel like maybe Hot Pursuit.
Is Hot Pursuit? I'll go Hot Pursuit. That's my first
Don't
Need
do
for
it.
Speed game. Ned for Speed.
Ned for Speed. Ned for Speed.
It's just Ned Flanders racing the cops. Well, it's not Carbon. I feel like it's Most Wanted.
It's Most Wanted.
There's like a... What's that, though?
Like, this is an
That's
old
E.
one. This is an old one.
Most Wanted is pretty old.
Not as old. No, this is probably. I really think this might be like Underground or Hot Pursuit. I think this might be Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit.
You reckon it's Hot Pursuit?
That's my guess. Because
that's not open world. No, Hot Pursuit's not open world. Actually,
It is.
It's not open world, so it can't be Hot Pursuit. There are only maps that you play. So Most Wanted is probably the earliest Need for Speed game that I can think of.
Remember Most Wanted. You can try Most Wanted. What about Porsche Unleashed?
I've actually never seen Porsche.
Wrong franchise.
Oh, it's Drive. Drive.
What is that?
Rush 2? That's probably not Rush.
I don't think that's a Rush.
Is it Burnout 2?
It may be.
Burnouts.
No, you stop guessing. It's wrong franchise. You're right.
I forgot. Okay. What other fucking car games? Is it Driver?
What's that? What's next to the 2? That's not an R.
Fuck you.
That looks like a U. Something U2.
Yeah. Did you two make a intense driving game?
I swear that says like that's got to be Most Wanted underneath. So I'm confused.
Type in Most Wanted, see what happens.
No.
Nope, just Need for Speed. Is it a? Actually, I don't. Is it a? I don't think it's a driver one.
Is it like a GTA situation? Are we thinking about it? Are you thinking it's a car game, but it's actually like a?
Is it? I don't think. No, because we would see the GTA on there.
No, it's not GTA, but like, is it a open world kind of like car game?
It's not Saints Row. I know that.
It's not Saints Row, that's for sure.
What's the I? There's is it like Live something?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been Live. See what
I feel like maybe Drive could be.
Maybe.
Never heard of Pacific Drive. We could go through.
Wait, haven't? Wait.
What?
I guess you have Pacific
Drive.
About?
Oh no,
I thought you played Pacific
I didn't
Drive,
play Pacific Drive. I think I wanted to play it. I haven't played it.
Okay.
But I meant it couldn't be Pacific Drive because there's a bunch of other shit
It's not
all over it.
It's not Driver.
Limited.
What?
Test
What?
Drive Unlimited.
Did you look that up?
No, it just looks like the letters would fit there.
It's totally no, maybe not because that 2 looks.
Unless this is the worst setup fucking thing.
I'm doing it. Oh my god, what is that? TDU2!
Test Drive. Oh my god, I hate that.
That's the worst.
This game came out in 2011?
The worst. I've never heard of that game. I just want to say that is a
I
zombie
feel like
game.
I know.
No, that's not a zombie game. Devil May Cry? No.
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 Oh, why? I feel like I shouldn't. Oh, Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 15.
Oh yeah, it is. Boys on a road trip. Fuck, what the number? XV?
XV.
Boys on a road trip.
Yeah, I can't believe.
Look at
I
my
recognized
boys.
that.
Look at my boy
A lot of it's
Prompto.
color. A lot of it is just like color dispersion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that game is fucking massive.
I never finished it.
Boys! Oh, that's
It's a car.
this might be Need for Speed.
I don't know, it kind of looks like a burnout.
We should smoke weed. I feel like Billy's
That's a
crash.
that's for sure a crash. That's a freaking what, like
Is
a
this
Jeep
another
crashing
crew
into a
game?
car? It looks like The Crew, right?
I know, the game's too controversial.
Looked like that.
Is that the original? That the red and orange is the color of The Crew, and like
Is that okay?
I'm pretty sure it could be the original, or it could be. We already got Motorfest, didn't we?
Yeah.
Should I just do the crew and see if
it
that's...
might be the straight up the crew, the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the colors. It's the crew 2 that's the colors, I guess.
Crash.
The Lamborghini threw him off.
The Lamborghini threw me
We
off.
walked our way through that one.
Threw him off in the right direction.
Oh, which one's this? It's an Ubisoft. Is this the crew 2?
Is this the crew 2? I think it's your crew 2. That's the crew font.
To crew!
Okay, crew.
I got it! Yay!
Wow, apparently the crew games are fucking massive. I guess
They
that's
are.
the cool America. Oh,
What is that? Is that
that's what I definitely should know. Like the splash art. Oh, I should know this.
I was thinking that game where you're like a magical mob boss, but I don't think it is that, is it?
This is large games, not car games, okay?
Yes, this is large games. We already had Ghost of Tsushima, right? That's not the
No.
Is that
no, we didn't have Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think this is it though.
Like Ghost of Tsushima is like really.
Wait, is this a Final Fantasy?
Normal.
The color is this FF8? That was a big one.
Oh, what the fuck's 8? 2x?
No.
No, not even the right. No. Oh, this is fucking. Is this? Is it? I thought it was Feel for a second there. I don't know what letters you just told me. What's the actual game called?
I'd go Fuel, honestly.
Fuel? Alright, let's go Fuel.
Could work.
It's Fuel.
I forgot Fuel existed.
What do you put in your car?
That was legendary for how big the map was. And
I really liked it conceptually, and I never ended up playing it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Sea of Thieves?
What?
Oh, it is,
Oh
totally.
my God, it's Sea of Thieves. Holy shit, legend! I was gonna say, like, is this some like cover for Deltarune I've never seen?
Titanfall. I forget what this is called. Daggerfell?
Daggerfall? No, I don't know.
No. I know, I know.
Hammerfall,
but
Hammerfall, close,
Hammerfall, that's it.
What's Hammerfall? I get it. I get it. It's mine.
Yeah.
It's not Hammerfall.
Try Elder Scrolls 2.
What? Oh.
Elder Scrolls Daggerfall.
Yeah, there we go. I thought Hammer, like, no.
Who the fuck are you?
Who the
This is an old one, like...
This is, I'm guessing, like, mid-2000s.
It's fall. Like, it's definitely fall something.
Guys.
Killzone
It's
Shadowfall.
Fall Guys. We've got it. Dreamfall: The Longest Journey. I could see that. Guild Wars. Is this a Guild Wars? No, I don't think it's a Guild Wars. Guild Wars is more fantasy, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Shadowrun's like Jedi, not Jedi. Fucking Star Wars confused me. Shadowrun's like ninjas, isn't it? Thronefall, Titanfall 2.
I wish that was Titanfall 2.
Thronefall, like, cause that's like a knight, like hood thing, isn't
I thought that
it?
looks like an assassin. Like,
Really?
like maybe like this, some like Lawrence of Arabia, something like that.
I'm doing Thronefall.
Nope.
Shit, that didn't help me.
No, you're just showing us more of the hot chick. I don't know this woman.
They're like, you know this hot chick.
Guild Wars was a bloody MMO.
Yeah, Guild Wars was an MMO, and it had like, it was a very fantasy. I feel like this can't be it.
But she's wearing like a bloody hood cloak thing.
I honestly am thinking like Guild Wars.
You reckon Guild Wars? I recognize the font, so maybe the font's Guild Wars.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, it was Guild Wars. Alright.
Oh, yeah, look how tiny the Guild Wars is on there.
Well, Guild Wars had like, you could fly around with dragon wings. Like, that was like the big thing, like dragons and stuff. This is like not fantasy at all. This is just medieval.
Literally, the original cover art for Guild Wars is just another woman as well.
I reckon they changed the cover art, because all the cover art I always saw of Guild Wars had like big dragon things on it.
This is like
Guild Wars 2.
I might be thinking of Guild Wars 2.
Guild Wars 2, because the big 2 is the dragon.
Is Europa Sales?
Oh, you reckon Big Europa?
No, No, that one's a. I
It's Euro
have
Truck
seen
Sim.
this. I have seen this image.
It looks like.
That- He's holding a sword. It's not Zero I don't know what Euro Truck you're playing.
Right, let's move up Euro Truck Sim, guys.
I know this. I have seen this. I know this game. They're the Pirates of the Caribbean online game.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I have seen this game. I don't know if I played
Is this
game.
Assassin's Creed 3?
It's
No.
Atlas. It's Atlas.
Alice?
It's Atlas. Atlas.
Atlas.
Yeah, like
It's an Ark game.
like a book of map. It's a shit ass game.
That's the one they made before Ark, isn't it?
It's the one that made After Ark. That is god awful.
Because it's the same engine, and then like this is.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, so the servers could have like quote unquote
Daggerfall.
That's Daggerfall. Not Daggerfall. But so anyway, so the servers were a cluster server, so every one of those grids was its own server. So you could theoretically have like 20,000 people on a server at once.
Just casual 63,000 square miles.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, this was like all of Tamriel at the time.
I wonder what this
That
is. The Titanfall 2. This is online, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this ESO? It's that or
Yeah,
Morrowind?
it's Elder Scrolls Online.
I was hoping-
It's like coffee stained color.
What should be Morrowind? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no, me Elder Scrolls.
What the fuck? Who are you? Lord of the Rings, the animated movie?
Arena.
Again, I think I might know this one.
Elder Scrolls Arena.
He might actually be right.
I told you, no way, Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls Arena? That's not a thing. It didn't pop up when I... Oh, it is a thing! Elder Scrolls Arena. Okay, let's go.
It's the first
That was
one.
the-
What the fuck is
Elder
this? Look at that!
Yo,
That's
why
not
is
allowed on
that-
covers anymore.
why is that
I just got banned on Twitch.
Microsoft
This is Just
Flight
Cause,
Sim.
isn't it?
Microsoft Flight Sim.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, how many square miles is
Was
this?
it 2020 or 2024?
I feel like 2024.
Oh, what the fuck is this? 1.0 2024 and new?
Minesweeper!
I think a Microsoft
Yeah, I'm gonna get my...
Minesweeper on this.
I'm gonna
It's
pick...
probably 2024.
2024?
They
Oh, fuck
pissed
you.
People off with
Oh,
this. What?
fuck you.
Is it new? But it's 2020. It's Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. That's the official name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 1-to-1 the Earth. Minecraft.
Oh, I wonder what this is. Terraria? What? Why did you bother?
It's the last one gonna be No Man's Sky. That's
Ooh.
No Man's Sky.
Is that No Man's Sky?
Starman. No, Scar.
I thought it was
the
Outer
fucking
Wilds or
Obsidian
whatever
one.
it is. Oh, the...
the Bethesda one. That's stuck.
Yeah, Star... It's Starfield, yeah, that's it. I can never remember the name of it. I always go Star Citizen, Star everything else.
Citizen, Starbound, and then I just go, I want to play No Man's Sky instead. I actually just saw a video of the top 5 biggest ones.
Spore? Yeah. Finally.
Did you know D. Bradley Baker did all the creature voices in this game?
Oh, I haven't seen it being played in a while. I kind of want to hear
love
it and listen to all
Spore.
the clones talk to each
I
other.
love Spore so much.
Star Citizen? No Man's Sky? No, it's
EVE
too old.
Online?
That's too old, isn't it? It's got to be EVE Online,
Is
right?
it EVE Online?
Yeah? I feel like it must be.
It's that like if it's not, we can see more than just space. No.
Oh,
It's got more space.
yeah, more space.
Oh, I
How
mean-
good's that? Do you reckon it's not No Man's Sky? Is it Star Citizen?
Is it Star Citizen? Or you could try Star Citizen.
I feel like I recognize that ship as one of those fucking $1,000 ships that they were selling.
Does Star Citizen even have cover art?
It's not Star Citizen. What is
Is
that?
really dangerous?
Oh, is it? Yeah, it might be. Oh, which fucking one? Oh no, there's only one. What the hell? They don't have the new stuff?
The DLCs.
The game that's the other game, but a different game, is the DLC for the main game? Isn't
Hey, if they had
Odyssey?
Shadow Rain on, no, it was Erd Tree on this, and then the last one should be No Man's Sky, because I.
That's totally it, isn't it?
Yep.
What? Oh, is it a comma? Is it a freaking?
Yeah, comma. Yeah. I like just saw a video of like top 5 biggest gaming maps, and it was Minecraft, Elite Dangerous, and No Man's Sky. Like in that order.
Whoa!
Woohoo!
Whoa!
Procedural generation. That was just like cheating.
That was fun as hell. Like I would know these normal ones. Oh.
Ooh, I like impossible.
But it's like old niche shit that we're never gonna get. Let's do normal.
The world is shit.
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck? Is this a Matrix game?
PT.
This is not
no.
PT. This is not PT.
I know what it is though. I actually recognize that.
You're right. That's very recognizable. Actually, no. Hang on. Is this an old Elder Scrolls game? No.
No.
Shivering Isles Game of the Year edition.
I don't think it's Skyrim. Like, 'cause Skyrim was like more on stone.
Oblivion.
Can I reiterate? I legit think this is PT.
It's not PT. PT didn't have a proper cover art. It'd just be a picture of the game. Also, what is PT? Because that was supposed to be Silent Hills. PT isn't a real game.
It's public test or something like that.
Silent
It was
Hills.
playable test. That's what it's called.
Do you reckon it's going to come up as playable test?
Logo.
No.
No.
See, I was thinking
Yo,
like...
Gamedle Dev, put PT
Are we
in
sure
there.
that isn't like Skyrim? Isn't that book the like Skyrim book?
I thought it wasn't on a book. Honestly, if it was Skyrim, I wouldn't complain. You can do Skyrim.
I'll try it. It's probably not, but like it'll give me something, right?
Yeah.
I fucking knew
It
it.
is okay. Like, that's on me. That you're good. I thought that was on a wind tablet.
I wonder what that is.
I wonder what that is.
You can Biohazard 4.
It's Biohazard.
Oh, it's the new one.
New. It's new. It's the new one.
Got him. Oh, what is
That
that?
is Monster Hunter. That's
Is it a Monster Hunter? What? There's acorn things as a Monster Hunter? That looks like a Final Fantasy or something, doesn't it?
No, it's Final Fantasy adjacent. It's either it's Monster Hunter Stories 2. I think. Okay, I should not have said that so confidently.
Typing it.
Do it.
Is it just Monster Hunter 2? Why Stories isn't a thing?
No. Monster Hunter Chronicle. It was like Monster Hunter : Chronicles. No, and Monster Hunter like Monster Hunter thing.
It's
No,
not
they
part
don't
of
have.
it.
They don't
It
have
might be
stories.
like a yeah.
I think this is either 4. This is 3 or 4. Is my guess. Monster Hunter 3 or 4.
Hey,
Boom! The only Monster Hunter game I've owned, apart from World, and I hated it from the minute I started playing.
or a Rathalos?
couldn't tell you. All I know for sure is that's a little acorn man.
Yeah, they're a little acorn guys at 3.
I reckon that might be Sonic.
That's Sonic Team Racers.
Is it like a Mario Bros? What actually
Mario Kart Wii. Oh,
are they
Mario
on? They're
Kart
not on
Wii U.
carts, are they?
No, they're holding the Wii U.
Oh,
steering
no,
wheel.
okay, yep.
It's Mario Kart Wii.
Nice.
I own that one as well.
Hitman something.
Hitman-
3?
Hitman Codename 47.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, that's the first Hitman game.
Mario Bros. Wii.
It's Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Super Mario Bros. Wii.
New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
This is getting very easy. I wonder what this freaking is.
Oh, I love this game.
This is the game that Spider-Man became. This is the old generation of Spider-Man.
I just played through Spider-Man as well. It really is the first Spider.
Ooh.
Oh, I know this. Oh,
This isn't Halo, right? I'm seeing Blood Gulch right now.
That's not Blood Gulch. They would never put Blood Gulch on a poster. Are you kidding me?
Back in the day, though, Blood Gulch was the place to
maybe.
be.
It really was. Yeah. You wonder why you're there, but you figure it out.
I'm not getting anything from this.
Is it? Is it the crew? No, it's not
No.
the crew. I think is it? No, it's not steep. Steep was on a mountain.
This doesn't look. I feel like that's grass and then a mountain, right? Like we're looking up.
What was that game? Yeah, what was that game where you could like swap between vehicles? Like you could be on a bike and then you could be on like a car. I thought
That was the crew game. That was the crew.
Yeah, that was the crew.
That was the crew.
Oh, I hate that. Is this like another Forza Horizon? Is this a SimCity?
There's so many different games. This is. I don't know. Let's go Forza Horizon. No, let's go. I feel. You know what? This is Horizon Forbidden West.
You know what? I kind of see it now.
This is.
No! This is Manor Lords! That's why I know this!
Manor Lords.
Yeah, Matt's fucking obsessed with this game.
I've never heard of this game.
It's like it's a settlement survival sim made by one dude. And
nice.
There's like...
penis. Oh, it is. Is it the new one, though?
Yeah, reprobed, I think.
Oh, we've got 1 and 2, so I guess...
I think that's the first one. The second one has a different cover. Yep.
Diablo 2. Oh, is this just one?
Yeah. Diablo me.
Is it just the original Diablo? I feel this is Diablo 2. Unless the cover art's the same, but there's a 2 on it.
I think this is Diablo 1. There, we would see it too.
No, it's Diablo 2.
No.
I know that cover art's Diablo 2. And I was
Diablo
like, maybe
22.
it's both.
Oh, the 2 is in the middle. Okay.
Yeah. Is this the Life is Strange? No, it's not. It's
No, that's Half-Life. That but
yeah. Alex. Not Alex?
No, that's not Half-Life Alex. That is Half-Life 2. No, Half-Life 2 is episode 1.
Yeah, I thought it was like a weird one. It wasn't like
Boom.
yeah.
I hate that I know this.
Oh, is this a Dragon Age? No.
Is this a
I recognize
Mortal
this.
Kombat?
Maybe.
Is it Raiden?
Oh yeah, that could be Raiden. Maybe it's a Mortal Kombat. Is it the new one? Is it 10? Is that? No, it's an old one, isn't it? That looks old.
Yeah,
might just be pixelated.
I don't know which Mortal Kombat, but
it's not the right franchise.
What?
Is this freaking the Star Wars?
Is this Force Unleashed 1?
It's not. Really?
No.
What is that?
What is that?
I saw that now, that hand, and I was like, "That's Force Unleashed."
What's behind him? What's behind him?
It looks like a freaking. Is this GTA?
No, you don't shoot lightning in GTA. It could be Saints Row 4, but I doubt that. Is the
it could be a Saints Row.
What's that superhero game? That's like an original IP. Their last one really sucked.
I have no clue about any superhero games that exist at all. I didn't know there was an original IP superhero game. What is that?
It's like I don't think tracksuit.
And like, is this freaking Full Metal Alchemist the game? Is this guy about to kill a dog and a girl at the same time? That's what I'm seeing. That is the destruction tattoo, and he's about to.
You only got 2 guesses left. Is it Full Metal Alchemist?
It's not Full Metal. There's no way there's a Full Metal Alchemist game, and if there was, then there's no way the cover art would be a man murdering a little child and a dog.
But like that HD as well. Isn't there like an art style to those?
Yeah. No, that's. I don't know what this is. Is this Static X the game? Is this Static X? That's a band, isn't it? What am I thinking of? Static Shock? Static Shock. That's the DC superhero, isn't he?
Yeah.
Black Lightning?
No, I'm thinking the team that can use electromagnetism to ride on like sewer grate things.
And then they find Black Lightning.
Yeah.
Infamous, that's the series I'm thinking of.
Infamous. Could it be? It could be Infamous. No?
I'm pretty sure the cover's like him like standing right in the middle.
It's brooding.
Could be 2.
Farming.
Yeah, that's
pretty sure 2 is the same thing again.
Same thing. Same brooding little man. Okay.
The Infamous game.
Fair enough. What on earth is this? A dude shooting lightning out of his hands in a clearly like modern city?
This feels mid-2000s, I'm not gonna lie. This feels like a mid-2000s
And I'm
game.
not getting like it's not an action game, I'm assuming.
Do
It's not a fighting
do we wanna
game.
Use our one-time clue.
I think I have to.
Yeah.
We got 2 lives.
Yeah, we'll do it at the last life, I guess.
Okay.
But what am I going to guess? Is it? Should I guess a Saints Row?
It's if it's Saints Row, try Saints Row 4. But I thought they had a different.
Yeah.
No.
No,
It's
not
like
anything.
any of
That
this.
didn't help
Is
at
this
all.
gonna
So what is this game? Because it's supposed to show me
it's
genres, and it hasn't shown me. It's not an RPG. It's not an action game. It's not a fighting game. It's not open world.
Not on any fucking clue.
It's not on any platforms.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, is what I'm getting.
It isn't real.
Who the fuck are you?
It's that guy. It's on the PS3.
It's only on the
a
PlayStation
shooter.
3. It's a
Only on
shooter.
PS3.
It's a platformer shooter.
Role play
RPG adventure.
in.
Does look like the infamous guy.
Is it Infamous? Did you lead us astray? Is it a separate cover art?
Is it Infamous 2? Like seriously, is it Infamous?
Oh wait,
2?
hang on. I didn't even notice the thing. It's totally Infamous 2. I didn't even see the. It didn't realize it popped up with his name.
There's 2 different cover arts.
There's
oh my
2 cover
fucking
arts. That
God.
sucks.
I got that without Google.
Oh,
I
this
just
is
Googled Infamous. Night in the
Woods.
Woods.
Into the Night in the Woods. That's it.
Yeah.
PlayStation, you bastards.
I own this game. Like I own a copy of this game, but I lost the key for it. What the
Oh.
JFK the game?
JFK Simulator.
If that popped up, I swear to God.
Is it like a Hitman cover art? Like an old Hitman cover art, maybe?
No, all the Hitman covers have Agent 47 on the cover.
It's Need for Speed.
Yeah, that's like a freaking. That's a full-on picture.
Go with
Yeah.
like GTA.
Is this?
Do you reckon it's
GTA?
original GTA?
No, GTA 1 was really, really pixelated. I'm gonna go with like
Hear me out.
2.
Hear me out. Grand Theft Auto for the Ballad of Gay Tony.
No, because that's a DLC.
Liberty City
What?
Ballad of Gay Tony. Yeah, they have DLCs on this for some
I'm gonna
fucking
guess number 2.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, it's a picture, so it could be GTA 1.
Yellow car. Yellow car.
You reckon the yellow car means
Oh,
it's
hold
the
on.
ballad?
Because GTA 4 takes place in New York, but also GTA 2 does as well. So
So
either
it's
way, we're
2.
playing
With GTA 3.
So it's
But
2.
Everywhere takes place in fucking New York.
It's 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Alright.
GTA.
That's
I guess it's
interesting.
also up, top, down, and yeah.
Ooh, Little Big
Yoshi's
Planet.
Woolly World.
Oh, what the fuck did you just call me? What?
Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yoshi's?
Yep. Like
Yoshi's
Yoshi.
Woolly World. That's a game that exists in the world.
See that in my life.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck?
What?
Shit.
It's on the Wii U. That's fucking why.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because no one owns a Wii U.
No. Unironically.
Rackman.
Turismo.
What?
Rackman.
I thought it was Trackmania, but maybe it's Gran Turismo. I don't know
Yeah,
why it says
Gran
Rackman on the top. What? Oh, it's not Grand, it's Gran.
I'd say
Okay.
just do like
Why
Gran
is there a
Turismo, see what
Rackman?
happens. Is that the game company?
Oh, it's totally Trackmania forever, right? It's not.
Trackmania.
I was right.
Which Trackmania?
Oh, it's not. There's no. Doesn't it go Trackmania forever? Isn't that another?
There's Trackmania Nations Forever, like Trackmania Rivals or some shit.
I miss Trackmania. I want to play that again.
People still play Nations Forever. It's free.
Yeah, that's a Gran
Gran Turismo.
Turismo.
Yeah, it's Gran Turismo.
1? That looks like a 1,
Sure.
right?
I'm guessing, yeah. There's no like numbers after it, unless there's like a subtitle.
What the fuck? Is that a dead body?
Car Corpse.
Oh, Animal Crossing. Is this New Leaf? Or no, this is New Horizons,
That's New
isn't it?
Horizons. Yeah.
Damn, look how
If that was
good we are.
Pocket Camp, I would have thrown my
Path of
epic
Exile.
It's that game that billionaire pays people to play for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Elon.
Oh, this is a freaking Australian classic.
I know it. Do you know it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to finish that.
I have only seen the ending of this game, and it fucking.
I own it, and I still haven't played it. Is this Assassin? No, this is a God of War, isn't it?
No, this is Tomb Raider. This is Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, okay. I don't know any Tomb Raider games.
Specifically Rise of the Tomb Raider. I am a newfound like Tomb Raider diehard fan. Sims 3, Sims 4.
I reckon this is Minecraft.
Yeah, it's Inzoi.
It's a Persona.
Crush.
It's got to be. Is it a Persona? That doesn't sound like it says Persona. What's the title of Persona?
Japanese?
Not
I think this is Persona 3.
Not even the right franchise. Oh, this is Danganronpa.
Oh, okay. You know more Dangan than I do.
Which one is it? Goodbye Despair.
I don't think it's the first one because
it's not Trigger Happy Havoc. It's not V3. It must be Goodbye Despair.
This year, didn't we?
Oh, it's not even the right franchise. What is this then? I thought this was a Danganronpa.
Is it Yakuza?
No, Yakuza has pictures.
Okay, yeah. This is something I've never heard of.
I don't recognize it at all.
You're done for.
I saw the poses and the font and was like, this has got to be Danganronpa. Is it Zero Escape? No, there's no way it's Zero Escape.
This is like some kind of fucking game, like Dance reference.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it's like an anime karaoke game, right? They've all got microphones in their hand. Is this the game of that one game where those 3 mafia bosses have to dress up as girls and do karaoke, like sing as K-pop stars or J-pop stars or whatever it is?
You made that up.
That's a real anime, or it might be just being a manga right now. Mafia people have to dress up as women and pretend to be J-pop stars to like infiltrate something. I don't know what the actual reason is for it. I don't remember what it was called. I'm not sure what to type in here.
The yellow.
The yellows, yeah.
Is really telling, but I'm not sure how.
I don't recognize any of it. It's not freaking Death Parade the game. It'd be cool if it was Death Parade the game. That hair alone gave me Danganronpa vibes immediately, so I was like, that's it.
Is this like one of those like really shitty like Wii tech demo games?
Maybe.
It's like, look at the power of the Wii or whatever.
I don't...
This isn't Rhythm City, is it?
That kind of looks like it could be Rhythm. I don't know what that... That's not how you spell Rhythm.
Little bit.
No.
Rhythm Heaven is what I'm thinking of.
Put it in. I don't think... No, there's no way that's an R. That's not an R, for sure.
Unless it's like the Japanese title. But I also think Rhythm Heaven looks like that.
This has got to be like freaking. This is Time Commando. I know it. Time Commando. Oh, fuck you. Time Commando is right behind me.
Don't make me grab it.
Alright, Gamedle, when you're watching this stream back, this is the cover art for Time Commando. There. Put it in.
It's very blurry. Can you pull it back a bit?
That is a sick cover, not gonna lie.
Time Commando was so fun. You got to kill dinosaurs and shit. It's great.
I feel like I should know this. Like, I feel like I've seen this once in my life.
Okay, there's no games with the words karaoke in it.
I did some extensive descriptive searching.
Did you ask ChatGPT?
Oh, you could do that?
I don't know.
Kind of. What does the internet say?
Elite beat agents.
That looks like it. Yep. All right.
Oh God, I forgot that game exists.
What the fuck is it? Hang on.
knew it.
What
It's
is
like
this?
a rhythm. I think it's like
Sport music on the
Yeah.
Nintendo DS only.
So there's a YouTuber I watch. She used to constantly reference Elite Beat Agents.
Ah,
I actually knew I'd heard of this.
I've never seen that. Is this Thief? No.
Is that Resident Evil?
Oh, maybe.
It's so colorful.
It does look very colorful.
Why is it so yellow?
That's why I was thinking like, is like
Is it Dying Light? No.
that?
I
What's
have
that?
I think
Like,
the left hand
on-
side is a face.
Yeah.
That's a face.
But is it RE7?
You reckon it's RE7?
Unless it's like a cover I've never seen before.
Wasn't RE7 like
It's Warcraft 3! Reign of Chaos! Sorry, how do I spell
I think it's
this? There
Warcraft
it is.
2. There it is.
No, it's Reign of
Okay.
Chaos.
Yeah, it's Rick.
I was right about the whole face thing.
Oh, it is. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
Yeah.
Some people are just damn good at finding faces.
Ooh, what are we looking at?
I-
Oh, is this fucking Jet Set Radio?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I was about to say Jet Set Radio.
Is this Jet Set Radio? It's probably not. That one, I guess?
Probably HD. I want to say HD.
It's Jet Set Radio.
Damn, Jet Set Radio. Was this the one that was awesome and then they shut down the company?
Probably. Is this 2 or 1?
That's probably 1. I think Postal 2 had a slightly different poster. Yeah. I've never
yeah,
seen
Jet
that
Set-
one, and I've seen.
There's a
Postal
game
2.
that's like Jet Set Radio that's like a indie dev's
Oh, was it-
making. I can't remember what it was called. Is this
Donkey Kong.
64?
No, it might be 64. It's that or Country. Donkey Kong. I think it is 64 though.
Ooh, okay. Country then?
So let's put the TARDIS down.
How did Silas get a whole TARDIS?
He's playing with my bloody
Oh.
TARDIS.
Oh,
What
it's
am I
Diddy
doing?
Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing?
You know a little bit too much about Nintendo.
I played this for hours when I was a kid.
Astro Bot.
Astrobot.
I almost said boy.
That's something else.
Dragon Age
There you go.
Origins?
Number
Yeah.
2.
That's
Two.
Number
that's
3. Number 4. The best one.
It's not 2.
No, it's number 4.
Origin.
The best one.
It's not
There we
4.
go.
It's Origins, I think.
It's Origins. Wait, there's 2 Origins there.
Oh, wait. Let's do normal Origins. I don't think it's Awakening. I don't see anything waking up in that image.
I don't know. It kind of looks like it's waking up.
Yeah. Okay. Origins.
Why doesn't it show us the like consoles and stuff if we're in the right franchise? And
I don't
does it
know,
just
maybe-
not do that for the unlimited one? Maybe I think this might be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Is this 3?
Juarez, Modern
Or 1?
No,
Cowboy.
4. This
All of
is
modern.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
So many.
This is too
I
many.
hate how many Modern Warfares there are.
This is Pokemon Ruby. Wait, it might not be. Hang on. Are we sure this is Pokemon Ruby? Is it a Mega Ruby? Oh
is it
shit.
Omega Low Ruby?
Or is it none of them and it's like Pokemon Tournament or like Pokemon...
Let's try Pokemon Ruby, and if we're wrong, it's not Omega Ruby.
That art looks old enough to be Pokemon Ruby, I think.
I think it is this Ruby.
Nice.
Okay.
Got yourself a ground.
Oh, what was this?
We-
What was this?
Black Flag. This is
Black Flag.
Put
Yo,
that down,
have you heard-
please.
Have you heard of the Black Flag remake, The Internet's Worst Kept Secret?
No?
It's Limbo? Oh, not Limbo, that other one.
Are you is it?
Not Limbo, there's a
Inside or whatever it's called.
Inside, yeah. Maybe?
That's I thought that was a.
I think it might be milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk.
Inside a bag of milk.
What the fuck is that?
Was it Alan Wake?
Oh, it's Alan Wake.
It is the original Alan Wake. I thought it was Alan Wake, but I thought that was like a couch. That
I
game
thought it was like a
fire.
Worms.
Worms.
Which one?
Worms! That's Armageddon.
He really took the worms.
Words of a game
What?
is my jam.
Party? Something party? World party.
World Party. I've never heard of that one.
It's the only one I actually played properly back in the day
Really?
on the PlayStation.
Is this Horizon?
No.
It's The Last of
Hogwarts,
Us.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, this is Hogwarts? There's no way.
Too much controversy. Skip it.
Nice.
Oh, I know my controversy.
Oh, one, right?
Oh. Yeah, this is Darkest Dungeon. I think
It's one. I think it's
two.
one.
Silas,
Yeah.
can you please take Malik the Liar off of Claptrap?
Nah, kill Claptrap. Do it. What the fuck is this? Is
Kill
that
it.
like a werewolf? What's going on?
What is this?
I can't see shit.
It's like purple hair.
This looks really old.
This
Yeah.
does.
This is Castlevania 1.
Honestly, I believe it. I think it's just Castlevania.
Oh my god, how many are there?
There's so many.
There's so many Castlevania.
Wrong franchise. What is that?
What
is this
is
Sonic
that?
Unleashed? I'm seeing a blue chunky arm.
One, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. Two, there's no way the hell this Sonic Unleashed. Oh no, because the cover for Sonic Unleashed was like Sonic, was like half Sonic, and he's like angry on one side but normal on the other. Is this Golden Axe?
That's what I was like. Is maybe it's Golden Axe? I don't think it is. It could be too. No. What? It's like a horror game.
I feel like
Is this
I don't
Slipknot the
know.
game? That's totally Corey's mask, isn't it? From
It's a
Slipknot?
Slipknot game.
Is there a
It's
Slipknot game?
Slipknot.
Is it Slipknot the game? No.
There is a Slipknot game though.
It looks like it's like a horror game or something, right? Surely.
Do they have Vanilla Ice Blood on the Sand?
What does that mean?
It's a video game. Look up Blood on the Sand. I just want to see if they have it.
Oh. No.
There was it was like Ice Cube. No, it was 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. So it was so funny. What is this?
Don't know. Like it's clearly a horror game. I want to say it's Castlevania, but it's not.
It's not.
And I thought it
There's
must have been like
Dread.
a Friday the 13th game
No.
from the movie
There is a
situation.
Friday the 13th thing
Yeah, it's
game,
not that.
But there's also an earlier one. There's like an
I know there's a
arcade game that
Jigsaw
no one
game.
liked. I know there's a sequel to that game that's god awful, but that doesn't look like Jigsaw.
No, it doesn't look like Jigsaw, but I feel like because it's like it looks like it's a picture, right? Like that looks like it's a picture of a horror thing.
Yeah.
Makes me think that it's based
it's like
on
live
a
action.
movie.
Is this Night Trap?
What the
I
night?
don't think they look like. I don't think they look like that in Night Trap.
Did Night Trap even have cover art?
I don't know. That was the first game to have like big controversy because it had a woman in underwear.
Should I put it in and see? What? Wait, hang on. What was that? Friday
Friday Night Funkin'.
I read Friday Night Funkin' and Night Stalker, and I read like Friday, like Fuck Night or something, and I was just so
Fuck
confused.
That's a game I want to play.
Night Trap, you said? I don't think it exists.
I don't know exactly what it's called.
I have no clue what this could be. Is it like that's not because the Dreddy's a predator, but it's not. That's not a predator for sure.
It was Night Trap. Yeah, they need to get Night Trap on this because it's so fucking weird.
I've never heard of it.
It's one of those games where it's like all live action and you just have to like.
Oh,
interact
it's like
with
it's an
stuff,
FMV.
But like, yeah, but it's like a horror game. So you have
Wait,
to, like,
hang on. Is this that one? No, it's not that. No, it's not that. They
I
don't
feel
look
like
different.
I've seen this once in my lifetime.
There's like a hotel FMV that got really popular at one point, and I thought because I know that there's like a scary monster in that as well, but I don't think it looked like this.
I have no idea what this is.
Can I look up FMVs and it'll show me a list of no?
No. What is FMV? Fucking movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like film something video game.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to look up.
I'm doing Ched's message. I'm gonna type in video game blue face man with dreads.
Good luck. I've already tried it.
Nice. Those exact words. It's not Castlevania. Should I just type in Saw and see?
Oh, it's Lucio.
From Overwatch? Lucius is not. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Has it got a different name? Is it Ratchet Deadlocked? But actually Ratchet Gladiator? Actually, what Ratchet do they have in this game? Do you reckon they got Deadlock or?
Don't know. Oh yeah, that looks exactly like Ratchet and Clank.
They don't have Ratchet Gladiator / Deadlocked. Ratchet and Clank 4 doesn't exist.
They got rid of it. They erased it.
Drift Apart. That's number 4.
Rift Apart. No, sorry, is it 3? No, it's 4. Ratchet Gladiator is the 4th game.
It's the 4th game, it's number 4.
It's not number 4. But they don't have Ratchet Gladiator, which in America was called Ratchet Deadlocked.
It's like that. It's like Battlefield, how every other game isn't actually a mainline game. They just make shit up.
Well, people didn't like Ratchet Gladiator because it didn't follow the same like story pattern as the other 3. I loved it. It was the first game I should have played, and I liked it better than the other 3.
I'm gonna say fuck it. Let's head in the forest and see what happens. I know it's not the
You're
forest,
right.
but
This
it's
is
giving
definitely
me
the forest.
vibes. Oh, it's already in the blind.
What the fuck? Ape?
What?
Ape? Is this
Type in
Planet of the
type
Apes?
in
No, it's
ape.
not. It's
That's
not.
racist if it is.
Apex Legends. I got it.
And it's also an NT at the end.
Planescape
tournament.
What is what?
What?
What the fuck are you? Strategy game? It's taking a while to load what that actually means. It's a strategy RPG.
You know what the name is.
A 1999 role-playing game developed by Black Isle Studio. Really?
You figured out what the name is? Planescape
Seriously?
Tournament. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's. We guessed it. I think that's time to figure it out. Built
Dungeon
on BioWare's
Defenders.
Infinity Engine.
It's not Dungeon Defenders. It's got a very similar vibe to Dungeon Defenders, though.
It was based on
Orcs Must Die?
AD&D.
Oh, maybe it is. No, because there's not the
Okay.
right characters for Orcs Must Die. Are they? It's not Orcs Must Die.
I've seen.
It's not
this.
Dungeon
I have
Defenders.
seen this. Oh.
The
Troll?
vibe is very
No,
similar.
Troll
It's
something else.
it's definitely a tower defense game. It's got the same like font colors as Dungeon Defenders. So I'm gonna type in Dungeon Defenders. I don't think it is Dungeon Defenders. Or it could be too actually.
No, Dungeon Defenders.
What about
No,
Torchlight?
Oh, hang on.
Torchlight.
Is
I
that
haven't thought
it?
about that game in years.
Ooh, do you reckon it's
Let's
number
try
1?
Torchlight, see if we
Let's
get-
see the
let's
franchise.
see what we
Yeah,
got.
okay.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
We'll try 3 and then it's gonna be 2.
Let me just try 2 then.
You're right. It's gonna be 2.
That's gonna be 3. Someone recommended this to me.
Is this Fall Guys?
Humble guys.
It's Tumble Guys. It's guys that drop.
It's guys that drop.
Squid Game.
Squid Game. What the fuck? Tentacles.
Oh, I think I know this.
Eyes. Is this that one MMO that got released not that long ago? No, it's not. That looks like it's throwing stuff.
I'm getting like spider energy from this.
Oh, Spider-Man, obviously.
I guess Spider-Man: Age of Cthulhu.
Damn, that'd be sick.
I mean, like that eye and that. I'm like, I don't know.
Call of Cthulhu? I don't know.
It's not
Cthulhu's
Call of
green.
Cthulhu. I'll type it in and see
I don't know.
what that gives us. It's not Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is very green.
Good spelling like Cthulhu.
What the fuck is that? Is this a Verna Shape of Fantasy? It's not.
I feel like I know this. That's what's eating me up inside.
Is it like a Destiny DLC?
Funny because like that Planescape Torment game, I've seen the cover up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
It's
recognize the
like-
name after seeing it. I don't know anything about the cover.
That,
What is
maybe
this?
The devs of Fallout.
Is this like a Devil May Cry or something? Or like a Bayonetta? It's got like very Japanese fantasy vibes, you know what I mean? Like Devil May Cry.
Bayonetta.
Should I type in
Feels like
Bayonetta and see what
Bayonetta.
happens?
Let's try. It might be some Bayonetta I've never even heard of, or like the original, since I've never seen it. No.
Oh, what are you? What are you?
Oh, every time I feel like I've seen this, but I have no idea where. This isn't
This-
fucking Liza. No, it's not Liza P.
No, it's just got P on the front, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just piss.
I don't. The eyes and then the tentacles. It's like super.
Is this Baldur's Gate 2?
There's no, it's not. There's no way.
Is
Actually,
this
I don't
like
think I've ever. I don't think I've ever
Baldur's
had the cover. I only had the disc, so maybe it is. What was the other game that you said?
What's that moan?
It's my
He just thinking
mode.
about finding a game has made him.
Baldur's Gate.
Is it 7? Is it Gauntlet 7 Sorrows?
Is it Final Fantasy?
I mean, like it could be a Final Fantasy. It feels very Final Fantasy.
That's true. It's Final Fantasy. Is it
Like I said, it
Star?
feels very like.
Is this like one of those knockoff? If it, like I kind of want to say Chrono Trigger, but this is too new to be Chrono Trigger.
That guy kind of looks Chrono Triggery. Do you want me to write in Final Fantasy or Chrono
What are
Trigger?
you Chrono Triggered right now?
Chrono Trigger's so old though. I don't think it would look like this.
Yeah, it's true. Hang on, I just realized that the logo's at the front there.
Yeah, and it's
That's
really
a chunky
big.
guy.
Is this Dead Ass Destiny? That could be the
Oh, it totally is just Destiny DLC, isn't it?
Which one?
Let's go with 2.
Oh no, okay, they don't have DLC,
Okay,
so this must
let's
be
do
a
Destiny-
cover art for Destiny, one of
Destiny
them.
2.
That looks like it could
I
be a
wanna-
2. You know how Destiny has the
I wanna
Half-Life
say,
situation?
Yeah, I think this is Destiny 2.
What the
Oh
fuck?
my God.
That's not. That's like a single cover. That's the fucking Ghost Leviathan from Subnautica.
I've never seen Destiny look like this. This is lying.
This is lying. This is false advertising. This
Dark
is
Souls.
Dark
That's-
Souls 3. It's
Like,
not the 1,
no,
is it?
It's like Dark Souls.
Is it 1?
It's 1.
Yeah.
I thought 1 was like brown.
That's 2.
Ah,
Just
that's close. 3. Darksiders?
3.
Darksiders.
Darksiders, yeah.
I can spell it, I swear.
The worst one.
Nice. What the hell?
Pokemon
Is this
Emerald.
cat?
Pokemon.
Oh no, it is Pokemon Emerald. You're
Pokemon
right. You're right.
Emerald.
It's Emerald. I thought it was one of the cat games. One of the
I-
cat.
I immediately recognized that Pokemon from Smash Bros. Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge. The second one? Are you sure? Mirror Edge cat.
That's not Catalyst.
It
What
actually
the
is.
fuck?
Oh, this is Hades.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it? Is the
yeah.
first
I was
one?
like, oh, this is one.
This first one.
Yeah, 2 is blue, like a
Ah.
green.
That one game,
I know this one.
Metro Exodus.
Metro, that's it. Yeah.
Is this? Oh, 2033, right?
No, yeah, this is 23-3, I believe.
It's not.
No.
Is it just Metro?
This must be Exodus.
I don't think I've ever seen the cover
I'm
for
pretty sure
Exodus.
Redux
I
is like
have
a
seen
red or an orange.
This is a
2033.
remake of a.
But I'm pretty sure the cover of Redux is like red or
I
orange.
own Metro.
Sorry, there's only. It must be Exodus. I thought. Oh, maybe it's Last
Yeah, I think
Light.
it's Exodus.
Last Light was.
I thought
yellow?
Last Light was darker. I think this is Exodus. As I know I've seen this one. I've never seen that Last Light's one. Yeah.
Huh. I feel like I've only seen 2033 and it looked like that, so I don't know. This is Ghost of
here you go,
Sushi.
finally.
Finally, Ghost of Tsushima.
He's been waiting forever.
Waiting forever.
My time has come.
This is
What?
Dragon Ball Z or something.
That
Yeah,
does
I'm
look like a
seeing Dragon Ball.
game.
Should I just type in Dragon
There
Ball and
are-
see?
yeah, there are
there's
Dragon Ball
like
games.
there's a lot of Dragon Ball games. Is it Xenoverse? Oh, it's
Kakarot.
totally Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Is it Dragon
That's like a
Ball
fighting game.
Budokai 3?
How many Dragon Ball games are there?
I've played Budokai. I think I've played the original Budokai, which isn't
I
on
feel like
here.
Fighter Z would be like the mainstream one. They'd
Fighter Z is the normal one, but I feel like that texture looks way too low res to be Fighter Z. But maybe they just didn't give a fuck.
I've never seen any of them, but I can.
Sparking
recognize
Zero
Dragon
is
Ball.
the newest Dragon Ball, I believe.
go with that one. Click it. Make it goes.
Correct franchise, wrong saga.
So it is Dragon Ball Z.
It's not Fighter Z.
No.
Oh, it's it's the other one.
15.
Fucking Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball 15.
It's Xenoverse. Or it's just Xenoverse, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that is a fighting game. One of the fighting
We'll have
ones.
to bring
that
it
are
in
just
next
fighting.
week.
That's
is
Hitman
Absolution.
Blood.
No, that's Absolution. Blood Money was slightly different.
Hitman Blood.
Oh,
I don't know.
I think it's
It's not
Two.
3, is it? Yeah.
no. Is it 1? It's 1 or 2.
It looks too good because the one that you showed me looked shitty, and if it's 1, then it's not that one.
Yeah, but he does look like the one from the newer games.
It's Hitman 2.
You googled it.
No, I have it on my Steam account.
Super
Metal Gear
Solid 3.
1.
I heard it's on 3, 1.
Is that subsistence?
Snake Eater?
This is.
Is it Subsistence?
Is this at the
It
end?
should be Snake Eater, so it must be Subsistence.
Nice.
This, I wonder if that's like a sequel to Metal Gear
The
Solid.
Lands.
You know that one.
Ooh.
That's all yours.
Yeah, it's 2. I was
Thoughts
trying.
on Borderlands
I was
4?
trying to find his hands.
Yeah. Thoughts on Borderlands 4?
I haven't played it
Very
yet, but
simple.
Randy's pissing me off, so I'm not gonna.
Randy Bitchford.
Yeah, okay, that's a correct answer. Oh, I know that. Why
Is this
do I
a this
know
is a super?
this?
This is a Mario. Is it a Mario
Is it
Maker?
Kirby?
No, this is a Paper Mario, right? Is this a Paper Mario?
Kirby?
Is that not a shitty
It's
Goomba?
not papery. It's not papery.
This is
enough.
not a Kirby game.
Oh, there's a Dreamland, isn't there? Kirby Dreamland? Is that
Oh,
that
is
one?
this Kirby Dreamland? It could be Kirby Dreamland. I would.
Oh,
accept
there's a
Dreamland.
3. There's a 3.
Let's see. Let's just guess Dreamland. See what happens.
Oh, wrong
Nope.
everywhere.
It's
There's a
not-
Mario.
Oh, it is Paper Mario. That is Paper Mario. Okay. I just don't know.
I'm
what Paper
assuming this
Mario
is the
that
original one, right?
How many fucking Paper Marios are there?
2 came out like
It's-
I think these
It's
3
not
came out
Thousand Year
each
Door.
year.
It's not. Yeah,
It's gotta
not
be the
Ordan70
original
game.
Paper
It's
Mario,
not
right?
1000 Year- I think it is Paper Mario or Super Paper Mario. It must be
What?
Super Paper.
It looks so old.
Oh,
This must be Super Paper Mario, I guess, because it's so
Yeah.
old looking.
Super. Oh, I want to get Super Hexagon on this.
What?
Is it a Yoshi game? Because like there's like a kid and there's a Yoshi. Wrong Saga. We should.
Does that mean-
Super Paper Mario?
Does Wrong
Right, so
Saga?
it's
yeah.
a Mario game, but not like from that franchise.
Paper Yoshi.
It's type in Yoshi because I think Yoshi does have a ton of story
Crafted
games.
World?
No, it might be Yoshi's Story, like straight up. Or it's Craft. Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about Yoshi games. I just know Woolly World.
We've got a clue
As
back.
you-
I've got to use it
Do you want to? Do you want to use on a Yoshi game?
because I don't know
That's
what the
Baby
hell this is.
Mario.
What the
Super.
Super Mario?
Super-
There was only one Super Mario though, so it's got to be Super Mario.
Super Mario. How long is that
Just
name?
scroll until you get a really big name come up.
Yoshi's Island.
Is
Super Mario World 2, like
Super
Yoshi's
Mario
Island.
World? No, that doesn't line up.
Yes, it does.
Super Mario
That's got the
World 2
apostrophe there.
Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna.
I
Yeah, I
guess.
think it's it.
Oh yeah. The blank is the 2. Yeah, I guess that one.
That
I knew
sucks.
that is.
Deus Ex.
Is this?
Deus Ex. Yep.
Oh, it is?
I knew it. I just didn't remember the name. Yeah, Deus Ex. It's the first one.
Never played the first one.
Looks like you need a job.
Dark Souls
Dark Souls.
Remastered?
Yep.
It must be Dark Souls Remastered. Yeah. Bleach Dark Souls.
Bleach Dark Souls. Ooh, that's a
Scribble
star.
Knots! Scribble Knots Unlimited!
That's it. Yeah, is it unlimited?
Yep, that's unlimited.
Nice.
Make a new one of these. I beg of you.
Super Solid 2.
Trying
Yeah.
to make another one.
I don't know, the people.
I see that already.
Yeah, it's Sons of Liberty. Who
Who the fuck are you? Licensed product.
Licensed
Is this
product?
Helldivers? No.
This is like
FIFA.
freaking-
It's FIFA. I think it's a FIFA game.
Oh,
Fate.
it's 23. Fuck off. 21.
Is it FIFA? I think this is FIFA 15.
Who is that?
It's
17. All right, perfect.
Fuck you.
How dare they
Bullshit.
number these guys? Oh, Lucario,
Pokemon
freaking.
X.
Is that Pokemon? Okay.
Is it X?
X.
Is that not a? Oh no, that is the thing. Yeah, I was thinking it was a like dog Pokemon, and that it was like a Let's Go or something.
Yeah, you guys don't know Pokemon more than I do.
Who the fuck are you? I
Oh.
recognize you. Who are you?
I recognize this as well.
Oh,
This
that's the fucking
Celeste?
head go. Celeste, yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3D.
A Mario 3D World, I think.
I think it must be
I think
world.
it's three- I think
Oh,
it's
there's
3D
no
world.
world. Is it land?
No, I said World. I think
Okay.
it's 3D World. Yep. Yeah, you had Furry Mario.
Yakuza. Is this Zero?
Tekken.
That's Tekken. That's fucking Tekken. I saw the tattoo and was like, that's a Yakuza tattoo, but that's Tekken 6?
I think the newest one.
5?
Yeah, Tekken's
Yeah.
5 or 6. I should probably just 5. I'm gonna guess 5 because I don't think 6. I think 6 had the other guy on it.
That's Kazuma, isn't it? Didn't he die at some point?
Or is it 6? Okay, I thought 6 was the latest.
I don't know.
So
Four's PlayStation 2.
Ched said 6, and I believe Ched.
I'm gonna go with 6. It's not. Oh, what?
Wrong.
Was I right?
Is it WWE?
There's no way that's a WWE.
Okay, guess Yakuza. And if it's
I'm
not,
gonna.
I'll guess
I
WWE.
reckon it's Yakuza 0. Ooh.
Oh,
Kiwami?
wrong number.
He looks too young to be in any, because he starts off pretty old, and then Zero's an origin story.
Is it 1?
He doesn't have a tattoo in Zero, I'm realizing.
Oh.
So maybe it, but it looks like it's higher definition also. So I reckon it's Kiwami. Hang on. Fucking no.
Check your Yakuza.
I don't know if I have all of them, so it probably won't matter anyway. I'm gonna go with Kiwami. It's the right saga though, so it wouldn't be Kiwami, would it? It's not like a dragon.
No, it's not like a dragon. I don't think it's pirate either.
It looks pretty HD, but not too HD. I'm gonna go with 3.
You know these games better than I do.
Is it just Yakuza?
Is it just the first Yakuza? Is there like a Yakuza remastered, or are they just playing off Yakuza remastered? I guess try just straight up Yakuza.
I've only got 1 life left.
Well,
that
there's no
that
number
font
that we
looks
can-
old. So I'm
we
gonna
can
say
try.
it's just Yakuza.
She's
Okay.
fucking shit.
Hey,
Fucking send it 8. Is that
Kingdom Hearts?
That's not
That's
Kingdom
Mickey.
Hearts.
That's Kingdom Hearts.
Is it?
Look at that glove.
That's not a Mickey glove.
Isn't
He's
that
got a
Mickey?
glove.
Mickey glove.
Is it 358-2?
I don't.
No, it's
that's-
not. It's not 358-2 because that's different.
Is it? It's not Birth by Sleep or Chain. Is it Chain of Memory? No, that's the.
No,
It's not Melody of Memories. That's the rhythm game.
it's not 3. It could.
It's
It
not-
might just
I
have to be
don't think
1. I
it's-
think it's just 1.
It might.
It's not.
Is it 2?
It's 2. That's fucking what's his name? Opposite
I don't
Sora.
rem-
Roxas.
Oh, Roxas. Did you?
What?
ever
That's not
watch
3.
the, Is it like Chain Cross or whatever?
Oh, it's totally something weird, isn't it?
It's something fucking weird. Wait, or is that? Wait, what's that one that was like a massive prequel? Is that Aqua above him?
Maybe.
Kingdom Hearts, I don't know.
Kingdom Hearts. I don't know.
Not Hearst.
Yeah, it's Hearst.
Kingdom
Hearst.
Heist.
Kingdom Hearts, I don't know.
It's-
I
I want to say it's not 3, but now I'm looking at it. It looks like a new Final Fantasy game's
It's
cover
not
art, which makes me
3.
almost think it is 3.
No, because 3 is way more fucking edgier.
I'm pretty sure 3582 and Chain of Memories are both Game Boy games, which almost makes me think that it is that, because like every
I actually think it might be Birth by Sleep, because I seem to recall. I think it's one of the off ones. It's either Birth by Sleep or Chain of Memories. I don't know. I don't know these games. I just hate them.
It's totally gonna be 3, isn't it? I never actually played 3. Actually, I never actually played 2.
No.
I tried to play 358-2, and I don't think that was it, but it could be.
I think that's
Good
Aqua.
Birth by
above
Sleep.
him.
You fucking guessed that many times.
Yeah, I
Have to be
think
right
it's
about it.
Birth by
It
Sleep.
is.
It is Birth by Sleep. Yeah, because that's Aqua, Terra, and the other guy, Ventus. They're all
The
named
other
after
guy.
elements for no reason. By the way,
Well,
what
that's
is
a diving
this?
game.
Is it the diving game?
Is it Abzu or
I
Dave
don't
the
think it
Diver?
is Abzu.
it might be Dave the Diver.
It could be Dave. No, it's not, because Dave the Dive is Pixel. It's not.
It's
It's
Abzu,
got to be.
actually,
yeah,
I
no, the
don't
water-
think
is
it is
Abzu?
Abzu
Oh,
though.
let's do Abzu.
Oh, I thought there was
That's-
green on the
wow.
cover. Okay.
I thought Abzu was way less HD.
No, Abzu was a
Far Cry
lot more HD than
5?
Dave the Diver. Dave the Dive is pixels. Is that a Far Cry?
I think that's Far Cry 5.
It looks like a tank, doesn't it?
In 5 Cry 5, they're all like sitting at the table.
This might be one
I think you're thinking
am
about
not
Resident
aware
Evil.
of.
No.
No, they did them both.
Well,
Oh, it's World of Tanks!
I saw a tank. I should have just went with my gut.
Tanks! Exclamation mark.
It's a stupid looking tank.
That's a stupid tank, yeah.
For
That's
Honor.
For Honor, yeah.
For Honor.
That was actually like a pretty good game. I think it sucked that it was on the
It's
Ubisoft
alright.
store or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like limited to the Ubisoft store.
What?
Oh, man.
Oh, it is
Serious
it?
Sam.
It's a
Serious
gun.
Sam.
Yeah.
Serious Sam.
It is Serious Sam.
Which one though? Is it the original?
Like,
one?
the first encounter?
Is it 3?
No, the second.
It's not
it might-
3.
No, is it the second encounter?
I reckon it's just 2.
Well, you've got 4 games there, and you've got 4 guesses, so you can't find
Nice. That's not Serious Sam, is it? Who the hell's this?
That's Buzz Lightyear.
That's focused, Fred.
Oh. What is this?
Tank Chub.
I like vaguely recognize it. I might have heard
This feels
about
like
it.
This feels like a Nintendo game. I almost said, what's that game with the arms?
Type in TR and see what comes up first.
Trackmania.
Trackmania, obviously.
Trackmania. Trauma set? No.
Trombone Champ. It's totally Trombone Champ.
Oh my god, it is Trombone Champ.
That's beautiful.
Like a Wii game.
It's not even on the Wii.
Wait,
No,
it isn't.
it's
What?
awesome.
A Switch
It's on the
game and it.
Switch.
Oh. They were making it for the Wii and then it died and they were like, oh, let's just hold on to it. This is Octopath Traveler.
Octopath, yeah. My most vivid memory of Trombone Champ is the One Wing Angel version.
Stadium.
This is totally Stadium. It's 1.
Yep.
Look at that.
Oh,
Charizard.
wow, look at the polygons. He looks like he's built out of Lego.
Oh, I know this, but what is it?
No.
Is it a, no, that looks like is that Wolverine back there?
Persia?
Is it?
Is this
It might be.
Persia? I think it's like Sands of Time.
No, it's not the original. No?
No.
Well, this is what awesome looks like. Is it Just Cause?
Deadpool! No, it's Deadpool.
Oh, it's the Deadpool game. Ah,
yes.
Okay. Nice.
Thanks, no one knows.
There was.
I saw Wolverine claws. I just thought that it was like a.
Oh, Lego Indiana Jones: The Adventure Continues.
Is this
Okay,
Lego
I got
Indiana
the free
Jones?
with my Xbox 360.
Lego Indiana Jones 2, The Adventure Continues.
No.
The original
Actually,
Adventures.
it's Lego Indiana Jones: The Original
Is it the original
Adventures.
Adventures? I thought that one had a different.
You don't know your Lego Indiana
You
Jones.
don't know your Lego. This is a Resident
Punch a
Evil,
rock,
isn't it?
Punch a rock, punch a rock.
5?
This
Is that no? Sorry, that's 2.
Yeah,
That's
this is one of the
5.
shit ones.
He punches a
This
rock
is
in
the
2
first
as
one in
well.
the series. We're in number 2.
Yeah.
It's not in number 2.
Sorry, not
Drawn
him.
to life.
No, sorry, in 1.
I
Is
think
this Drawn to Life?
Drawn to Life.
There's no way.
That's my guess.
You're making it up. Oh, it doesn't exist.
Oh, this isn't in here.
It's a Mario game, isn't it? There's a green and a
Is it
red and a
Mario?
guy. It's got to be a Mario game.
Is this? This could be Origami King. Like, is it? Because like it's very clearly 2D.
Correct franchise, wrong saga.
Wrong
it's Super something.
Mario.
Super
Is it
something.
like
Mario and
Super
Luigi?
Someone should
Oh,
like
Mario and
trademark the word
Luigi.
super, and then like Nintendo's absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
No, look at Mario and Luigi.
Is it a Mario and Luigi though? I kind of just.
Yeah, I think because like it's green at the top.
Oh no, it's not.
Is it Mario and Luigi or Mario ampersand Luigi?
Mario. No, it's not Party.
Look up Luigi.
I mean, Superstars fits.
Oh, okay, it
Yeah.
does. It's a fucking
Yep.
ampersand. It is.
It is
Superstar
an
Saga.
Superstar Saga, yeah.
They should be banned from the word super.
They should. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
I actually think it is. Or is it just Skate 4? No, it's Tony Hawk.
No, I recognize that
What
font
is it
anyway.
What is it about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater that it's just immediately the most badass game you've ever played?
I'm not sure.
Like, just watching it.
Bastion, that's it.
Same devs as Hades. And a game in the middle that was also awesome that I can't remember.
In the middle of Bastion and
Battlefield
Hades.
Hardline.
Stuff line.
Battlefield, the worst one. Battlefield Cops and
Yep.
Robbers.
Apparently,
it's
this is the
2042.
concept for Battlefield. Oh, no, yeah, but 2042 is the worst one.
That's
I know
Drax.
this, I don't remember what it is.
Is this Gauntlet 7 Sorrows? It's not.
I feel like I've seen this before, and I'm gonna know it as soon as
I'm
we do
tapping
it.
in Gauntlet 7 Sorrows.
See, it's Gauntlet.
It's not Gauntlet 7
No.
Sorrows, but it's a Gauntlet game. No.
No, it's not.
Is this a Dragon Age? No.
No, there's a gun. She is holding a gun. That is very key to figure out what this
There are
is.
guns in Dragon Age, aren't there?
I know.
That's a musket.
Wait, is there like some like Dragon Age MMO?
Dragon Age
think they're-
Online.
Is there like
Why does the title thing look like the Path of Exile sort of style?
Is it the second
wait, is
Path
it
of Exile?
2? Is it Path of Exile 2?
I can see the vision.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
Is this Trine?
There are
No,
guns
it's
in
not.
Shrine. Wait, is there like a dark something?
That's an
like
arse.
Dark
I see an
World, or-
arse there. There's no
Oh,
way it's
yeah.
Trine.
That's not Shrine.
How many shrines are there?
5.
There's
One,
I'd-
2, 3, Nightmare Prince, and then Clockwork Conspiracy. Apparently, Clockwork Conspiracy is really fucking good.
not sure. Like,
I
I don't.
think this might be Dragon Age.
Is it? But like, which one? Like, I don't. The Veilguard? Is that a Veilguard? That kind of looks like it could be a Veilguard.
wasn't that. I thought it was more green, but I might be thinking. Let's try Veilguard. I might be thinking Inquisition. It's not even Dragon Age. I'm gonna know what this is, and I'm gonna be pissed at myself.
It's not Trine, because Trine, they don't fight. I just saw the 3 people like fighting, and I'm like, that could be a Trine, but it's not.
100% not Trine. I think there's gonna be 4 people there.
Yeah, probably.
Type in dungeon.
I only have one more guess.
I know, just type in dungeon, see what comes up.
Is it Baldur's? No, it's not Baldur's Gate. It could be the original Baldur's Gate. I don't know what the cover up for that is. I've only got one thing to type in.
I know.
Go on Baldur's Gate. I don't think it is Baldur's Gate, but
That's right, guns in Baldur's Gate.
Is there no guns at all?
There's no guns in Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
I hate this because I should know it. Like, I can feel myself knowing exactly what this is.
Let me just put it on my Steam real quick.
I was like, can I go to the Steam store real fast?
Because I feel like...
Yeah, I do recognize that. I just don't know.
360 game.
Like, I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is Gauntlet 7 Sorrows, is it not?
Oh, Steam's failing me. Let's try descriptive searching.
Yeah, you tried that. Your boyfriend. I've heard the Gauntlet games are good.
It's a fucking Paradox game.
It's a Paradox game.
Is it Age of Wonders?
That's fucking Pillars of Eternity.
Hell, I knew. That's all.
I knew I'd seen it before.
Yeah,
the original
I
one.
always recommended that game.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen it before.
Yep.
Sonic Unleashed. No, this isn't Unleashed. This is
Sonic
Frontiers.
Frontiers. Yeah.
Metal Slug? But which one? The original?
I don't know.
Is it Metal Slug?
Went to. It could be. I don't know what Metal Slug is.
Yeah.
It's that. My brain went to Quest for the Holy Grail for some reason. Red Alert 2!
I read the ERT at the end and I went, yes, Herbert.
Herbert. I'm pretty sure this is Command & Conquer Red Alert 2. Yeah! This I know.
Star Wars.
No, that doesn't look like Star Wars. Is this? This isn't like Civilization Beyond Earth, is it? I thought that was more white. This also looks like a Paradox game.
I am getting heavy like tower defense vibes from it.
What was that other sci-fi game they had? Not Stellaris. There was another one.
I think this is Section 8 Prejudice.
Is that an actual game?
Is that on this? Section 8 Prejudice was a game where you like orbital drop when you respawn, so you can drop on enemies every time you died.
So Helldivers.
So Helldivers, but it was a PvP game, I believe.
That sounds like hell.
Yeah.
I mean, funny, but hell. I know this. Is it like?
I recognize this person. I recognize these two people. That person there looks... The reason I recognize that person is because he looks like, what's his name from X-Men?
Colossus?
Kind of, but I think I'm thinking more of Deadpool's friend. I forgot his name. No, the The future guy. I forget his name.
Oh, Cable.
Cable, that's it. But I don't think either of them are that. Wait, is this? No, it's not.
Friend.
It's not. It's not. It's not. This
Can you
this
type
little
an age of and see what comes up.
a what?
Age of.
Age of mythology. They definitely have guns.
Yeah, this is space. This feels like a space game.
Is it because of the giant blue star in the background?
Yeah, and like I think I know what this is, so which means I get recommended a lot. It does doesn't Paradox have a 4X space game? Wait, is this just 4X?
Is that a thing?
Is this Homeworld? Is it like type in just literally 4X?
Like 4X?
The number, yeah.
That doesn't exist. You're making it up.
Okay. I own the game. Yeah, it's literally. Oh, it's X.
Defiant? That must be it.
It's X2 something, but that doesn't look like it. Is it X3 Terran Conflict? So I'm just looking at.
I mean, if you're looking at the game actively and the cover art is not that, I'm gonna say no.
Well, Steam has a.
I'm gonna go with Homeworld.
Yeah, I think Homeworld is a really good guess.
It's XCOM Enemy Within.
Oh my god! I
Fucking said that.
Enemy Within. I knew it was
Dude.
That's dumb. Is that the dark one? Is that the Dark Ages?
Eternal.
Is
I
it?
think that's Doom Eternal.
I feel like they look medieval. I could be wrong.
No, that's a Marauder.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
GTA!
I know those fuckers from a mile away.
My
City
brain
Stories.
stopped. Liberty City Stories?
Vice City Stories.
Oh, is it?
Stories.
Is that a thing?
Vice City Stories.
Oh. I didn't know Vice City Stories was a thing.
That is Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. Revelations 2.
Yeah, it's one of those. I somehow actually got to evil there by tapping randomly backspace.
What the fuck was that?
I was typing evil and backspacing as I was typing.
Very bottom.
Route 1?
Is it Revelations 1?
Surely there's not many games called Revelations.
Oh god, here we go again.
Hey, I'm not typing evil this time. Call Juarez Gunslinger!
Oh my god, this game was awesome.
My brother actually contacted the devs and got a global key for the game, so we could all play it at the same time. They just really wanted people to play their original game.
This game is so fucking good.
He was like playing like competitively against people on Call Juarez, and like because no one played in Australia, he was really good at like countering ping. Like he'd shoot ahead of people so they would get hit by the bullet because the like ping was so insane that they would be there by the time he hit them. It was really good.
Bro was leading shots in a hit scan game.
Yeah.
Is
that Life of Pi? No. He's up and he's got like 3? Something 3?
I feel like it's God of War.
Oh.
That could be God of War 3.
Yeah, I see the chains. That looks like God of War.
Who made? Oh yeah, Techland made Gunslinger.
Yeah. Oh, it's the original?
Well,
I see that. That's God of War. That happens in number 1. I remember that. What does this mean? New?
New is the Norse mythology one, so I think original is the one you're looking for. No, it's definitely not new. It's definitely not. Is it God of War 2?
I swear that happens in the original game, though. Is it like a flashback?
Maybe.
So you reckon, which one do you reckon?
Oh, there's Ascension down there.
Oh, you reckon it says Ascension down there? Is that what you said?
It's like all those ones down there. So.
Wait. Chains of Olympus. He's holding chains.
He's always holding chains.
So I just solved it right there.
That
So
looks like
just go
freaking
into the two, 'cause it's
Cerberus.
the mainstream one, whereas those
Yeah.
other ones are like DLCs.
This doesn't look like that's I don't know. Yeah, it's just 2.
Okay, so it's yeah.
I could have sworn that happened in the original. Oh no, I'm thinking
Maybe
it's I think it might be the same giants, but like different stuff. It was also in Olympus or wherever, with like pillars and stuff. Oh, what is that?
This looks like a Splinter Cell. I think this is a Splinter Cell game. This looks like an early Tom Clancy game.
Splinter Man.
Splinter Man.
Is it
Do you reckon
Chaos
just
Theory?
OG? There's a lot going on down there. I have no idea how many words there could be.
I don't think it's
Oh, Conviction.
Blacklist.
Conviction, you reckon?
No, it's not Conviction.
Okay, it is a Splinter Cell. We've got that for sure. Oh, love me
Is it
some
the
leg.
original? Is it the original Splinter Cell then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Stealth
That's not
action.
what I thought the picture would look like.
Yeah, no, I was very confused
this-
there.
This
That-
is Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts. That's a.
Is this Kingdom
I was gonna say a
Hearts?
squirrel.
This is a main line. This is a main line Kingdom
This
Hearts. 'Cause that is
Could this be
100%
one?
Sora. It might be one, honestly. This might be the original Kingdom Hearts.
Jiminy's pretty prolific character in 1, isn't he?
Yeah, because he's like he like keeps track of everything.
It's not 1.
No.
Oh, this is
He's
Chain of
not
Memories,
happy.
isn't it?
Is this what?
Look at all the crowns. Look at all those crowns.
Oh, that's true.
Do you reckon? Or it could be Melody. I don't really know what the difference is between them as far
I
as.
think it could be Chain of Memories.
Literally only played the first 2.
Yep, Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, Epic. Did you ever watch the Barry? What's his name?
Mega Man?
That could be Mega Man. Did you ever watch a good enough summary of the Kingdom Hearts games? I think I sent it to you.
I might have. I probably the trauma made it leave my
It's
memory.
So fucking funny.
I'm gonna say Mega Man,
Is this? Yeah,
not
it's
Megami.
Mega Man.
Mega Man 10. I think one of the Mega Men are just this, but I just don't know which one. I'm gonna go with 10. It's gonna be one of the later ones, right? If they don't even need to put the picture on it.
Actually, that's true. Maybe is it Mega Man 10?
It's not even the right franchise.
It's not even Mega Man.
It's Heroes of the Storm!
It's Hot C.
It's Hot C! The better MOBA!
Okay, no need to go there.
It's not the better MOBA. I like Heroes. I think I just like Smash Bros. Sorry, not Smash Bros. No, yeah, I'm right. I just like Smash Broing. I like multiverses. I like.
That's.
And
fair.
I like the ability to just play Warcraft characters against StarCraft characters for no reason.
Against Overwatch characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Fortnite of it all.
Did you see Royalty Free for All?
I didn't actually look at it, but it sounds good.
Horse.
Yeah, that's.
Chicken
There's a
horse.
second one though. No, it's not this one though, because there's a chicken and a horse here. The next one's called Ultimate Duck Camel or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Royalty Free for All. It's a platform fighter that uses only royalty-free characters.
Water dogs.
Shit.
Water dogs. Leg end.
We really just have to watch you try and type and it hurts.
I don't know if you can tell, but my computer's really lagging right now. I don't know what's going on.
I feel sorry for your code, honestly. How many times do you have to go back and Crash Bandicoot?
Crash Bandy.
Or
It's about time. Sorry, are they all about time? What's going on? Why are all
the title? It's about time. I hate that title. It's so overdone.
It's so good because Crash Bandicoot. This is Pokemon 53.
Gold.
Is it gold?
Gold.
It's not Heart Gold. It's Heart Gold, isn't it?
It was Heart Gold.
They both look exactly the fucking same.
What the hell is the difference between Gold and Heart Gold?
Heart Gold is
Heart Gold's a
remaster of
remake.
Gold.
Yeah. They just add a new word to the
That's
original
Sims
thing.
3. Is that 2? I thought that was 3.
It looks pretty old, and you already guessed Sims 4 for the other one. I reckon it's Sims 2.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Oh, no, it's Sims 3.
It's Sims
Sims
3.
1.
What did I say?
You're
Sims
right.
1.
You're right. You can get it on Android if you were wondering. This is freaking
Ghosts.
COD. Wait, is it actually Ghost?
Yeah, it's Ghosts.
Why did you want to
Alright,
get in there for that one? Just then.
I don't know, because it's Ghosts. Everyone like either loves or hates.
Is
the
this
game.
Final Fantasy?
No, I think this is something else. Is this feels old, like an old classic. Like that looks like a Mario tile, but I don't know if it is.
I was looking at it and thinking it was the the hat guy from the original Final Fantasy, but maybe it's not.
I haven't. I've only played FF8.
Well, I mean, if you guess Mario, then you. I don't know, 80
The
games.
original Mario game.
Here
It's
goes
not
the original
Mario.
How do you know? It's not
'Cause
Mario. Bros.
it's because it is a Mario game. Is
Yeah,
it?
shit on Super Mario's.
Is it
Bros.
Super Mario Bros?
I feel like it's not.
It literally tells you it is. It's not Contra.
It's Contra.
Yeah, it's
Really?
Super Mario Bros. Yeah.
I thought
I
Super
know-
Mario
I know
Bros. Came out on like newer
It came out on
systems than
Nintendo
that.
Switch, don't you remember? It came out on Nintendo
No,
Switch.
because I haven't played a Mario game. Mario's shit.
Yeah, it is.
The first Mario game I ever played was Mario Kart. The second Mario game I ever played was Mario Kart. The third Mario game I ever played was Mario Maker 2. And I think that's it. That's the end of it.
Bangers. You hit the bangers. Just throw Mario Party 8 in there, and you'll have played every good Mario game.
Oh, sorry, I've played the Mario
Actually-
parties now too.
Okay.
He actually reminded me of that game journalist that's getting shit on because he's playing Battle comparing COD.
Nice.
I know this one, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I recognize this too. Oh, is it a Xenoblade?
Is it Xenoblade? Is this Ninja Gaiden?
Ooh, it could be Ninja Gaiden too. That gives me. I feel like that's the font, like a font-ish to Xenoblade, or like maybe it could be
let's try 'em
Gaiden as
both,
well.
let's
It's
try 'em
like
both.
it's
Let's try
clearly like a samurai-ish like
yeah,
kind
I
of
think-
font.
Like, I think that's Ninja Gaiden 4.
Doesn't exist.
It's clearly it doesn't.
Is
yeah.
it Ninja Gaiden 2: The
Black?
Dark Sword of Chaos?
It
Ninja
might be
Gaiden,
Ninja Gaiden
Ninja
2
Gaiden Black,
Black.
Ninja 2,
So I
Ninja
think
Gaiden Black.
is their like remastered title.
So 2 remastered. You
I
reckon?
think, yeah, I think that's it.
It's not Ninja
No.
Gaiden. What is that?
What the fuck is that?
Is this a Tekken? No.
Is
Neo.
this tech?
Neo. What's
Neo.
Neo? Oh, I have seen that.
Oh, Neo.
NIA.
And let's see you spell it. 2, 1, 1.
I'd say 1, and if not, then
It's like a Dark
I have
Souls
heard of
game.
it. I have no
It's
idea
two.
what it is though. Oh, it is 2.
it is 2. Damn. That's very far out of my like content sphere.
That's old mate Detroit.
You fucking cocksucker. You never heard Mr. Crab shout you fucking cocksucker in that game? That's Dark Souls 3.
Thanks, Clancy.
Yeah, Clancy Brown, just you fucking cocksucker. And
Hey.
It sounds exactly like Mr. Krabs. 100!
That actually killed me. Is this Octopath 2?
I actually think it is.
No.
No. Oh, but I know
Is this Kingdom
this.
Hearts 3? No.
No, Kingdom Hearts 3 was edgier.
You're right. Kingdom Hearts is a very edgy game.
Do you want to actually look at Kingdom Hearts 3's like cover? It is so edgy.
I can't remember it. What is this? I like recognize it. I thought it was Octopath, but I guess it's
I
like
thought it was
maybe a
Octopath
similar.
too.
Wait, is this fucking normal original game?
Normal original.
That game that came out and no one knew what it was. Like everyone was shitting on it because it was a Japanese game and it like translated to like
I feel like I have heard
standard something. It was like
Default? Bravely Default?
that's the one. Is it Bravely Default? Should I try it? It's probably not. It's just I feel like it had the similar art style to Octopath in the cover. It's not. Okay. Well, that's something. What is that? That's a bit more edgy. Some might say.
Is this okay? I have a crazy out there theory. Is this Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham City?
No.
There's no way this is Batman Arkham City. I'm telling you right now.
A feeling.
If this is Batman Arkham City, I will be very shocked.
Oh, I'll win.
On him all over. There's not that much.
It's this,
Also,
it's not.
art style on the bottom right does not match.
No. It's very like it's a lot more gothic than I thought it was though. I thought it was a little bit more sci-fi, but there's like claws and stuff on it.
One idea I had, I don't think it is, but the Unfinished Swan.
The what?
The Unfinished Swan. I don't think it's that, but it gives.
Sorry,
it
you
gives
don't
me
think it's the
energy.
Unfinished Swan, but it might be Batman Arkham City?
You heard me.
It's actually just a Final Fantasy, though.
It's probably just a Final Fantasy.
Like Final Fantasy like 9 or some shit.
Well, I know it's not 7 because.
I'll type in Final Fantasy and then we can like
They're like
put in
misery.
some. We can put in some brains to it and go, oh, this looks like this, or we can hit the hint button.
I don't think it's
further
12.
than 9.
Oh, yeah,
Do you reckon it's further than 9? No,
Don't
further
go
than 9.
further than 9.
It's not
But,
8.
like,
It's not 7. I doubt it's 6.
Quality in the art is.
Is it
We
9?
going with 5 then? 5 or 9 is what I'm hearing.
Is it too edgy for 5?
Fucking go 6 then. Just
Well,
not
Warden
7.
said it wasn't
Not 7.
6. Didn't you
It's
say it
not
wasn't
I-
6?
It could be 6. I don't really know, but I thought
Alright,
6
well,
was like pixel art.
You guessed 5. I said not 7. He said not 6. So it would go rather.
Yeah, I'd say 6 is an okay guess.
That's an okay guess.
Hey!
Final Fantasy 6.
You said
What the
fucking
fuck?
wasn't.
I thought 6 was more pixel art.
Ooh, is this Firewatch? No, it's
Oh.
not. Is it the...
Long Dark.
Yeah.
Very long dark.
About 12 hours long.
Ooh. What?
Whoa.
Is
Life
it a...
is Strange 2?
Yeah, is this Life is Strange 2? I didn't recognize his cover art, but that looks
Yeah,
like...
this is way darker than normal Life is Strange. Wow.
Alright.
Yeah, that's the one where you're on the run from the cops, isn't it?
I never watched anyone or played Life is Strange 2.
64!
I'm gonna guess completely by myself, Super Mario 64,
Yeah.
without any outside help.
help.
Ooh, I recognize this. Oh, every
Dragon
time I see
Age.
purple
Dragon Age.
and like adventure-y things, I think Tiny Tina's
Is this
Wonderland, and it
Dragon
never
Age?
is.
Is this Dragon Age controversy?
Is this Veilguard?
It
Veilguard?
looks like Veilguard. Veilguard
I
was
think,
purple.
I think it is Veilguard.
Here we go.
It is!
No.
Is this Super Hot?
Terrible writing.
Is this amazing game Super Hot?
Alright, game. Super hot. They brought it back with mind control. Please. Dark Pictures Anthology!
That's where I recognize it from. Is it the whole thing?
I think
Oh my
it's
God.
It's the hotel.
think
What's
it's-
the...
The Devil in Me. The Devil in Me.
That's it.
There's only 4 games to guess between, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you're
not
right.
Little Hope. It's not the shit one. That's Little Hope, not Metamadan. That
Assassin?
is Assassin's Creed. I think that's
No.
Assassin's Creed Revelations or Brotherhood or 2.
I think that's Divinity.
Is that okay? We have 4 guesses. Let's try
The original Divinity?
Original Sin?
Yeah, Divinity Original
No.
Sin 1.
Or Divinity
Yeah.
1?
Yeah,
I feel it's
Original
a
Sin
Divinity
1.
game.
Try that, and then I want to try Assassin's Creed. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It looks like it has the color scheme of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
too,
there's this on-screen color scheme. Other than the title.
That is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Call of Duty Titanfall 1.
Too much controversy.
Yeah, you get to kill a pedophile in this.
Did anyone
game.
see
It's
me
pretty
type out
cool.
Call of Duty Advanced
You
without
don't
missing a single letter?
You
Very
don't
well
get
done.
to kill a pedophile anymore. They released the update that replaces his avatar, Tom Hanks.
This is Yakuza?
Are you shitting me?
Or is it Shen?
Look him up. They changed him.
No way.
Is this Yakuza or the other one, Shenmue?
Well, you're the Yakuza guy, so.
I'm gonna go Yakuza first, but I feel like it's probably Shenmue. No. See, how was I supposed to guess Yakuza 1 when this title looks way worse than 1?
They can't decide on how serious they want to be with the series.
Yeah. You can see that in every single game where you like...
Injustice 2.
Is it?
Yeah, that's Superman.
Yeah, that's Injustice.
Heck. That's not Superman. That's
I'm not
Fucking
seeing anyone
Jonathan
saying they
Kent.
replaced him.
Star Wars...
Last.
Star Wars... Is this the Outlaws? No, it's not.
No.
What is that? Last.
Asked.
What is that? I don't recognize the name of a Star Wars game. Outcast, I guess?
Jedi
What is that?
Outcast, maybe?
I've never heard of that.
It's there were
the
like
heck?
30 fucking games between like 2002 and 2009.
1942, my guys. That was a terrible
first
place to put
Battlefield.
your thing.
Yeah, that was the first Battlefield game. Oh,
Well, I recognize 3 of these characters and they don't belong. I got 4 of these characters, or 5 of these characters and they don't belong. 6 of these characters and they don't belong here.
You sure
do you
about that?
legit not know what game this is?
No, I know.
It's Super Mario.
Into Super Mario. What?
Wait, is it the original? Which
I think
one?
it's
No, it
Ultimate.
wouldn't be the original.
No, Mega Man in the original.
It's not-
It's
Is Mega Man not in the
it's
original?
Ultimate. No.
I never
was
played
only-
any up till... I
it's
think I
Ultimate.
played
It's
Brawl
Ultimate.
once.
Brawl's my favorite. No, the original was Mario, Link, Pikachu, Kirby, Fox, and Peach.
Toby Fox?
No, the other one.
Normal
NES.
Fox?
That is Civilization.
Is it?
Which
That's
one?
I think is that Civ 7? It's yeah, 6
Isn't
had
Civ
the guy
7 like
holding the
basic?
ball. No, it's Civ 5! It's the good one!
I thought Civ 4 was the good one.
Yay! No, Civ 5 is a good one.
Bad Company?
That is
No,
I
sorry.
think that is Bad Company.
Isn't...
I think that is
Oh no,
Bad
the
Company
original.
too.
This is Battlefield Bad Company. Which one?
Is that the
Because one of them
original?
has a smiley face nuke next to it, isn't there? Like,
That might be
It's
Bad
got the
Company.
grenade with a smiley face on it.
I
Yeah,
think
is that
Bad-
this one?
If this is Bad, I think this is Bad Company. It's either Bad Company or I want to say Medal of Honor.
wrong franchise.
Company-
Oh, it's freaking
Company Hero.
Heroes.
Company of
We got
Heroes.
Call of Juarez.
Call of Juarez
Company of
3.
Juarez.
Richard
Forker.
Parker.
Parker.
Peter Parker.
Richard
Porker?
Parker.
Is it Dungeon Keeper?
Are you actually saying Richard Parker?
I'm pretty sure that's the tiger's name of Life of Pi.
Oh, so it's not.
I don't know. Try Urker. See what comes up. Is this Dungeon
Dock
Keeper?
Worker. Dungeon
How can it be
Keeper.
Dungeon Keeper?
That's not Dungeon
I don't
Keeper,
know.
is it?
I don't know.
No, there's no way that could. That's not the letters don't
Yeah.
work there.
Yeah.
Dock Worker.
I was talking
Soulbreaker?
darker.
Oh, Dark and Darker.
Oh, I didn't even think of that as an option.
I didn't. Yeah, that game doesn't exist anymore. Actually,
D&D card stuff.
I think it's like exists.
Pokemon? Is this the new
Oh,
Pokemon
I know
game?
this. Is this?
No, it's not.
Is Power World?
Is it Power Wash
It
Simulator?
might be Power World. It's not. There's no way this is Power Wash Simulator.
It feels like a sim game.
It looks like a sim game, but there's no way it's Power Wash Simulator. I'll put it in. Pretty sure Power Wash Simulator has blue text.
Does that have more blue on it? No.
Oh, it's the photo game.
Viewfinder. I love that concept of that game, but I always forget about it.
Sniper?
The Tom Clancy
Sniper
one.
Ghost Warrior. I think it's Sniper Ghost Warrior.
Is it a Tom Clancy one or a Sniper one?
No, not Sniper Elite.
Oh, is this not Sniper
Ghost
Elite?
Warrior.
Okay.
No.
3? Are you sure it's not Sniper Elite? Is it the Division?
Those are all. I think it is the Division. Like I was like looking at the color. Like, oh, that's the Division.
What's a Tom Clancy one?
It is Tom Clancy Division, even though they didn't actually make it.
It's 2, isn't it? Because of the pixel
I think
up there?
it's 2. I know it's not 1. Okay. If it wasn't that, I was gonna guess Homeland.
What was this?
Hey, we know this one. That's Avatar.
Avatar, that's
Blue
it.
people.
Far Cry.
Far Cry for blue people.
Underground Need for Speed? Is that
No.
right?
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk Underground.
This game's gonna be so controversial when he dies.
Which one?
Tony Hawk 6 Feet Under. They're the first one, yeah.
I'm like, I know I need to end the stream in like a minute, so I'm...
That's
Dead
not
Island.
Dead Island.
That is Dead Island.
There's no... I don't believe that's Dead Island. Oh my fucking god.
Nice.
Get shit on.
Doom?
64.
Original?
Doom!
64. Ooh,
Wow,
Doom.
I think it's just Doom. No, just Doom.
It's the original, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Zelda Link's Awakening, I reckon.
What that one is.
Just fucking click it.
I was trying to find it. Ooh, Call of
is that
Duty?
Spec Ops The Line?
No, maybe.
Or is
Yeah,
Modern
that's
Warfare
it.
2? It's that or Modern Warfare 2.
I reckon Spec Ops The Line. Ooh, it's Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2. Original Modern Warfare 2, not new Modern Warfare 2.
No, I'm good at my spelling there. Wow, fair.
Tycoon 2, baby.
Look at that guy go.
I was more of a skateboard tycoon.
Classic.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the
Oh, I know
clipboard.
exactly
Is
what
this
you're
Stanley
doing.
Parable?
This is
Yeah.
Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
You were old.
Oh, I love this game.
Oh, I know this.
Oh,
It's the second one. I know it's the second one. I don't know why.
This is the one that's like Jet Set Radio, right?
No, I think this is a fighting game.
Dragon Ball Z. Way too colorful for Tekken.
Okay, good.
I feel like it's a word, like your word, like the fantasy. It's not fantasy stuff, but I feel like it's something.
Xenoblade Chronicle 2.
I'm gonna do it.
I would.
I just want more letters. It's not Xenoblade Chronicles though.
Oh, fucking Dragon Quest.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's a good call.
For fuck's sake.
It let me do modern WoW Warfare, but it didn't let me do
Dragon Quest 2.
which
Try
one?
Builders
Builders 2
2.
or Hero?
Let's try
Newer,
Builders
you
2,
reckon?
Dealing with the number 2. No.
Oh, not even close to where I was thinking.
Beautiful Joe.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
What the fuck is that?
What
It's actually like a super popular game. I don't know who plays
I've
it,
never
but
heard of that.
it's like got this like weird niche. What is
Cat
is that? Tomb Raider?
Raider.
Is that a Tomb Raider?
No.
That's Tekken.
No, the
That's
Tekken.
Tekken
My
1.
other
Tekken 1.
My other Tekken 1. Okay. My other guess was Twisted Metal. Twisted
It's
Metal.
not.
That kind
There's
of
no
art style.
cars. There's no cars.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, Tekken. Is that the one with the bear?
Actually,
They all have the bear, but I don't think it's in that one. I think it comes in Milk 2.
I can't get it. Is Kenshi Sacred Fist come out before or after Tekken?
What the fuck is that?
It's a PlayStation 1 game that's very similar to Tekken.
Wait, that's
It's lots of similar games.
It's a lot more.
Is that Frozen Throne? It's Frozen Throne.
I think it is. Yeah, I was like, hang on, I remember that shoulder.
You have that one.
I remember that pixelated face.
I was just like, I remember this exact
green.
thing except with different colors. Is this Horizon?
Oh, this
No.
might be Turok? Like
Is
that
it?
looks dinosaur-y.
It likes dinosaur, but I feel like that's a.
No,
oh, maybe
it's
it's a
Ark.
Monster Hunter. Is it
I
Ark?
think it's Ark. Ark Survival Evolved.
Not even close. Oh, there is a.
No, that's Monster Hunter. That is Monster
Yeah,
Hunter.
it's a Monster Hunter. Okay, but like,
Okay.
which one?
World,
Is it
World
Rise?
or Wild? It's World or Wild.
What did Ched say?
I think it's either of them.
Yeah, World or Wild. Wait.
We only
I
get two
think it's
guesses.
an
I'm
early
not
one.
using a hint because I gotta go.
I'm pretty sure it's an earlier one.
Yeah, I was thinking it was an early one too. Because
Okay.
it. Oh, hang on. What does that
Is it
say?
Generations? Because that's long as shit. Is it Generations?
That's like an L though, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, is it 4? Is it 4 Ultimate?
Oh, that could say
It's not
Ultimate.
3. I think it might be 4 Ultimate.
What does Ched say? Yes, nah? I think that
Yeah.
is Ultimate. Oh no, it might not be.
I'm gonna guess 4 Ultimate. That's my guess.
I'm almost guessing that that doesn't say Ultimate now,
What are
looking at the
guesses
front.
for names.
Generations? It's not Generations.
It's not Freedom Unite.
It could.
Is it
no, it's not
Generations
Freedom.
Ultimate?
I feel like that doesn't have Generations
I
though.
think my guess is 4 Ultimate.
I don't think that fits. But I'll do it.
Fuck, what is
Is this just Monster Hunter?
Like Monster Hunter 1?
Because that looks like it says Hunter now. I'm looking at every letter. So does it just say Monster Hunter and that's it?
I'm gonna guess Monster because the fucking words aren't going. What's the prom?
I think
Monster
that's
Prom.
just
I think this might be
Hunter.
Monster Prom.
Yeah, it's probably Monster Prom. You're right.
Hey!
Yeah, it's just straight up Monster Hunter.
Who are you?
Doom.
I
Is it
think
Doom?
that's Doom 2 or 3. Yeah, actually Doom 2. Wait, is Doom 3 not in? Is Doom 2 not? It must be Doom 3.
2. Hell
Doom
on
2
Earth.
Hell on Earth. There we go. Yeah.
That
I know
doesn't
my
say
Doom
Hell on
2.
Earth anywhere, so
No, it doesn't.
Oh, what is this?
Is this Oddworld?
No,
Agency?
it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I can put it in.
It's more pixels.
It's
No.
I have seen it before.
I
I
have.
can't remember the name of
Nightmare
it though. I can't remember the name of it.
Fuel.
Yeah. This feels like a PlayStation game.
No, it's on PC.
That-
I just can't remember what
It
it's
shouldn't
called.
be. I have no idea. Is it like Trash Bots?
Trash bots. It's not. I feel like it's like. I feel like it's like planet. Like it's like the word is like planetarium. It's like something arium.
Can you type in Arium, see what happens?
Yeah, I'll do that. Missionarium. That's it.
Damn.
Ooh, because my description that I typed into Google got me. Repo.
Got you repo. This is repo. What are you? You recognize things?
Is this a Dragon Quest?
Yes, I think so.
I don't know which
Bruce
Dragon
Lee Quest of the. I think it might be Bruce Lee Quest of the Dragon.
Yeah, that's Bruce Lee.
Sentinels of the Starry Skies.
They look like Sentinels that would be in skies that are starry.
It's not. Oh, it's a Sonic.
Sonic. Oh, it's Sonic Team Heroes.
Terram.
Sonic Terraform. A Sonic Hero or Sonic. It's like Sonic Hero something or.
You're making up games
The
again.
Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I know it was like Sonic Colors.
Isn't that the game everyone hates?
It was Sonic Colors. And honestly, possibly.
Who are you?
Is that Spec Ops the line?
That moved me.
I don't think it is. It like looks. Maybe it is.
Looks like
I just don't see a gun unless he's holding it like.
This is more orangey, and I'm pretty sure he's holding it.
Oh, there is a gun. I found one. Is this the Mad Max? Not Mad Max. No, it's not. I'm thinking Rage. It's not Rage.
Okay, yeah, it's not Rage.
What am I thinking of?
This is one I feel like I should know.
I just realized I never actually changed my Twitch title to thing. I think it still thinks I'm playing Stardew Valley.
No, to me it says playing some Gamedle with Ordan.
Yeah, but the actual game.
Yeah,
I've been playing Stardew Valley for 3 hours.
Okay.
If anyone asks.
And all of these are Stardew Valley. This isn't Far Cry 2. It looks like it's like blank.
A Dance of Fire. Did someone make a? That's
Fire and Ice.
That's Game of Thrones, is it not?
Yeah.
Did someone make a Game of Thrones game?
Song of Fire and Ice.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's like a play off of it. A difficult game about climbing?
Absolutely not. I don't think any games have a spacebar.
Is it? Okay, hear me out. I Am Legend.
Yeah, and I can see it. It's not, but I can see it.
Are you sure he uses an assault rifle?
I think it might be I Am Bread.
I think it's I Am Fish.
Yeah, you're right. I've got no clues. I think we need another image. I think we'll just skip.
It's a Tom Clancy game.
It's wait, is it? It's not Breakpoint, but is it?
Is it like an old? It's not Ghost Recon. Is it? It's not Vegas.
Should I click Breakpoint? It's not Wildlands.
It's definitely not Wildlands. It's not Breakpoint because we saw Breakpoint. Can you do like Future Fighter or whatever?
That's not on there, as far as I could tell. Tom.
Is it the original? Whatchamacalls it? Ghost Recon? Is it the original Ghost Recon?
It's not Tom Clancy. It's Uncharted.
Oh my god, it's Uncharted.
The original?
Nathan's
National Collection.
Nathan Drake Collection.
Yeah, okay.
The National Collection. As I said.
This is that one game that everyone likes. Couldn't tell you what it's called.
The other one that we kept pitching.
This is Assassin's Creed.
That was Assassin's Creed 2!
This is Little Big Planet. Is this No, I'm not. That's not correct. Is this Castle Crashers? It's not.
Not Castle Crashers.
Could be Castle Crashers, you don't know.
It's not. No, I do know.
Is this the one game with the heart?
It's not boy. Do you see the rat? Is it Tooth and Tail?
No. But I'll put it in. No. To the moon. What a banger.
What a banger. I love the rats with swords.
What's that one? There's like a platformer game where there's like a dog and a dude, and they're in like World War II Germany.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend didn't take place in Germany.
That was zombies. But there was a guy and a dog doing platforming.
You're right. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not that anyway, because I'm pretty sure it's more
Right.
grayscale, and that looks like a
Yeah,
sword.
this-
The background looks like maybe it could be, but like I think that's a sword,
It's-
not a dagger, like not
like
a
there's a
knife.
tail, and it feels like weirdly
There is
like
a rat.
yeah. Can you type in rat and see
I've
what
been
comes up?
ratting.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it, Ratatouille.
Ooh, what is that?
What the fuck? Or maybe the guy's killing that. He doesn't actually have a rat tail.
Yeah, he's killing a rat. I've got no clue what this is.
I have no idea.
Oh, it's like a goblin thing. It's like that's its head, that like up,
Yeah.
and that's its eye.
I mean, I would not blame you for being mistaken. This is Castle Crashers. I know it isn't, but I would not blame you.
Is it a Castle Crashers cover art though? You don't know.
I do know, and I know it's not.
What is this?
Is there like a knockoff of Orcs Must Die called Goblins Must Die?
Actually, let's look up Goblin, because that's a goblin. Did we
No,
try
it's just
Ghosts and Goblins? Should I try it?
I'm sure you can try it, but I don't think that is Ghosts and Goblins.
That's a rat!
That is a rat!
Rat warrior.
Is it like Mouse Guard?
Dungeons of Degenerate Gamblers. I think it might be that one.
That game's actually awesome. It's Balatro, but with 21.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was developed like at the same time, so it's not actually a good knockoff.
Tales of Iron.
Tales of Iron? Is that might have been even what I was thinking of.
Hail. I think he's. Oh no, Tales of Iron. Okay, I heard Hail. What the fuck? This game looks badass.
What is this? This is... I know this.
I see someone in a red.
It's Far Cry, right? Oh, is it Ghost Recon? Or Far Cry?
It could be Wildlands. It could be Far Cry, like 6. No, 6 has Giancarlo Esposito.
No, wait, hang on. Third option, Max Payne?
Oh, it could be Max Payne 3.
3. Pains.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't believe I remember
Need for
that
Speed
one.
Underground.
One.
There you go. There's Need for Speed Underground.
New Max Payne game, but he's actually just installing window panes.
Is this StarCraft?
No.
Is this StarCraft?
Mate, like StarCraft 1, maybe? I don't think it's I don't think it's Wings of Liberty. Oh, correct franchise in StarCraft, so it's StarCraft 2?
Whoa.
There's another space there.
Or is it Brood War? StarCraft Brood War.
I was thinking
I
Brood
feel
War
like-
because of the weird, creepy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. StarCraft Brood
Yeah.
War.
Ooh, who are you?
Yeah, say that about the Queen of Blades.
Is this
Persona.
Death Note?
That's a Persona game.
That's a wing. Oh, it could be. Is it Bayonetta?
Does a Joker
It's not.
have a wing?
Sonato.
Personato.
I just kept typing.
Spell.
Persona, but told with potato or tomatoes.
Sin, that's got to be the wing. That makes sense. Persona 2 Innocent Sin. I can see it.
Sure.
It's not 5.
No, it's not. Is it Persona? I mean, doesn't Joker have that guy? Or what about the orange-haired chick that we see the head of? Anyone recognize that?
I feel like
Play
she
the
might be in
games.
Persona 5. I played a bit of 5. I didn't finish it though. It's fun. It's like Pokemon, but with weird Sin things. I wish that's not the cover art. So that's not the cover art that I have. You know what? I'm checking that. I'm fact checking.
Fact check.
I've got an alt tab to the fucking thing.
Wait.
Or is
Oh no, my PlayStation 3 games are upstairs. I can't fact check.
Rip. He will never know.
I'm pretty sure that's not the cover art that I have.
I only know the wings are Persona 5 because Joker was
Oh, is this Smash?
Double Dash.
hard.
Double
Mario
Dash.
Kart Double Dash.
Getting
Double
Super
Dragon.
Mario.
There's just
Yeah,
so
can
many
we
Mario
start with the
games.
Mario?
Ah!
What?
God!
What's happening?
Did you?
It's Gary's
clear it?
mod.
Is it meant to be that blue?
I don't know. I don't think I've No, it's just broken. Oh no, because it's blue. It's because Gary's mod's
it's
blue, and it's like
blue.
confused the pixelization.
Yeah, you can't pixelize one color.
Yeah.
It hurt. It hurt a lot.
But yeah, my brain was like, no.
I recognize that instantly.
I don't know what this
recognize
is.
instantly. It's very
Oh,
colorful and stylistic.
Is it like
It's
a vamp?
probably
It's
a
not a
good
vampire,
game.
is it? No.
Oh wait, is this Vampire Survivors?
is this Disco Elysium?
Ooh,
Oh
it
my
could
God,
be.
it's Disco Elysium.
Aha!
Banned in Australia.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Oh,
Oh, I
no.
wonder what this is.
Storm game.
Storm game. Game where rain
Storm
happens. There's that electric
Does it have
guitar.
rain?
Yeah.
Mungus.
Yeah, it rains enemies. That's why the difficulty goes up by the amount of rain that there is.
Yeah.
Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blood and Wine.
Witcher 3, Blood and Wound. Ooh,
I know this one.
fancy.
This
I
is
know this
Mortal
one.
Kombat.
Is
Is it 11 or 1? Yeah, because
1?
they did it something weird with. Yeah, I think it's 1.
I don't think I've ever seen the cover for Mortal Kombat 1.
It's
I
like
think I
the
saw it
stories they
once.
reset the timelines and then
Yeah.
Is this an ESO? No, sorry, is this an ES? The font gives me Elder Scrolls.
zoom in on it.
Enhance!
Zoom and enhance.
The L or D?
The Elder Scrolls.
No, I don't think it's
The
an Elder
Legend of-
Scroll.
I don't
The
know.
Legend of Korra?
There's no way there's a video game of that.
There is a video game of Avatar. Somewhere.
No, no Korra. Let's do Avatar.
I think it's the
There's
Legend
fire
of-
and water. Avatar doesn't exist other than Far Cry Avatar.
Yeah. Is it the Legend of something? Or the Legend something?
It looks like it could be
Fable.
Legend.
Fable.
Fable?
That does look like a Fable.
Fable 1.
Oh,
Is it
Or is
just
it-
it's
Fable?
not the Lost Chapters. There's Lost Chapters there. That
It could
feels
be
like
the
it
Lost
could be the Lost
Chapters.
Chapters.
Yeah, the L.
Nice.
I still count that as a... Isn't the Lost Chapters just a remake of number 1?
Probably.
Probably.
What am I looking at?
What the fuck?
Is this Shenmue? Is this
Is this
Kensei
Serious
Sacred
Sam?
Fist? Is this Serious Sam?
I could see it.
That looks
being
like a
Serious
spider.
Sam.
That's a spider.
Oh, you're right. And I think
I don't
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to play this game anymore. There's too many spiders.
Is it Tura?
There's no
I
spiders
guess
in
that's
Turok,
mostly
is there?
dinosaurs, not. That's mostly dinosaurs.
Should I put in Serious Sam and just see what else we got?
Serious
Don't.
Sam, the one with spiders.
There you go. I thought it was Resident Evil 1 because of the spiders. I was like, is it a Resident Evil? But then I was like,
think
no,
it's
that
the
doesn't make
Resident
sense.
Evil 1 original, I'm guessing, because the new one has a different one. Must be Resident Evil original. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, look at that guy!
That's Chris.
That's Chris!
He looks like
Yeah,
someone
so
trying to draw Ash
stupid.
Williams from memory.
Sorry,
Oh.
this game is mostly centered around fighting a snake. There's like 3
Yeah.
snake fights. Why is the spiders on the cover?
The spiders are what I remember the most.
He almost became a Jill sandwich.
Mad Max? No.
No,
Is
that's
this
something else.
Starship?
Starship Troopers? I don't think so. Or unless you mean something not Starship Troopers.
No, that's what I meant because guns and that looks like a bug up there.
Sci-fi racing game.
Is it Burnout 3?
Is it Gears?
That's not Gears.
Oh, is
That's a
that
flying.
Unreal
That
Tournament?
is it. Unreal Tournament. The gun looks like
It looks Unreal
vaguely
Tournament.
Unreal Tournament-y. Which one though?
Uh,
World?
the one.
Are there
Okay,
cars
it's the
in
right
it?
thing.
It is.
4.
I guess 2004. It looks like it's trying to rip off Halo, so 2004 would make sense.
Yep.
Like that is just a warthog.
That's a Mario?
That is a Mario. Is that Mario World? Like, is
What'd
that
you
Super
say?
Mario World?
Where's the setting to turn off Mario?
I don't know. Let's try Mario Worlds. Correct franchise, wrong saga. Ooh, it's a Donkey Kong? Is this the original Mario, like the Donkey Kong Mario? What's that called though? Is it just Donkey Kong?
Just Donkey Kong. Is this actually Donkey Kong?
It is.
Wow.
Look at him!
With Jumpman.
Look at Mario, Jumpman Mario!
Look at him. Look at Donkey Kong.
This woman does not look as distressed
This
as she
is
should.
Fallout Shelter?
Shelter.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Fallout Shelter. Recognize that as soon as it came up.
Oh my
This
god.
is a Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong 64. That one's definitely Donkey Kong 64.
Definitely. There's no way I could be wrong.
Okay, maybe I never owned
Donkey Kong
the actual
Country.
box.
Is it?
It's this one's that's Country. Yeah.
Isn't Country on the Game Boy?
I know, but I've
It's on
stolen
the
the Donkey
everything.
Kong job from the Donkey Kong guy.
Nice. What the hell are you?
Oh, I know this. I feel like I should know this one.
You said that about the last one.
I say that about everyone.
Oh, fucking
Frog.
cross the fucking road.
Frogger.
Yeah.
You're right. It must be Frogger. Ooh. The hero?
I know this.
Quick, put in the.
The House of the Dead.
Yeah, that's gonna be it.
I feel like it says the hero. I feel like that says the hero.
Yeah.
It could be. It could be like the House of the Dead. Like
something.
it's not. No, it's not.
Type in GRA.
No, because that's in brackets. It's not the real name.
They might put all those letters there.
There's no way. There's no way they'd do that.
It's better than the H that we're on so far.
Yeah. Grah. Grabbed by the ghoulies.
Gran Turismo.
It's gotta be Gran Turismo. Grabbed by the ghoulies, like. I feel like it being in
So you see
brackets means it's not.
Scroll until you see something big.
There's nothing that's big other than Grand Theft Auto. Red Orchestra, House of Stalingrad. Is this Bug Snacks?
Type in a frog.
A
Is it Frog Fractions?
I kinda, when I looked up the house. Sorry, when I
Is it the House of the Dead?
When I looked up the her, it's not the House of the Dead. That's like a typing game, isn't it?
Look how fucking small that scroll bar is.
Oh, what's that papercraft game that the devs of Little Big Planet made?
Is that a thing?
Yes, it was on the PS Vita and no one played it.
I've never heard of it. I'm putting in the House of the Dead. Oh, I thought so. Little frog?
Is it the little...
No.
Is it legit Frog Fractions?
Frog Detective 1, The Haunted Island.
Oh.
See, my brain was thinking Duck Detective, looking at it.
Wah, wah, wah.
And then it was Frog Detective.
That does feel like that.
This is Telltale's. Will it have Telltale at the start? Or just Walking Dead?
Yeah, it would be Telltale's Walking Dead, I think.
Ooh, is that? That doesn't say Telltale's, but I think this is it, isn't it?
The season 1 and 2 is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
Okay,
you.
try season 2. Try season 2.
Should I just type in season 2 and see if it's the only one? It is!
Yeah,
what?
Oh, what?
Is it Michonne's thing?
I know it's not.
That's a DLC for like that's a part of Walking Dead Telltale. Save the Sinners is not.
Season? Is it the final season?
Oh, hang on, yeah, I thought that was freaking Clementine. That's not Clementine. It's the final season.
Yeah.
What?
What?
What is it?
Not Saints and Sin. I think it's the other one. The
Michonne?
No. The scroll down at the very bottom.
A New
A
Frontier?
New Frontier. I think it's that one.
Yeah.
This is the last guess.
Saints and Sinners
Let's
is different.
guess. Yeah, Saints is entirely different. Hey!
Just
Just
Cause
Cause
2.
2.
I don't think we're ever gonna lose.
To a Just Cause.
We're too good. We're too good.
Donkey Kong Country.
No, go ahead. Can't be
Kong.
Donkey Kong Country. Already fucking done it. Donkey
Is it
Kong
like-
Island.
Ooh.
Is it the? I thought it said Diddy's Quest. I thought
Donkey
it
Kong
did
World. Donkey Kong Luigi.
It's definitely Donkey Kong
Donkey Kong.
Country.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't know
That
if
one.
there's something at the bottom or if it's a monkey.
Is Diddy involved? Was he having a freak off? Oh, he was having a freak
Oh
off.
wait, Frost. It's like there's a new Donkey Kong Country, isn't there? Tropical Freeze. It's that one.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot to scroll. I would have picked that if I saw it. There's a dragon here. Blade? Stellar Blade?
Hellblade or whatever it is.
Hellblade. It is
Oh, okay.
Is it Hellblade 1 or 2, though?
1?
Let's try 1. If it's not 1. Okay,
Nice.
sweet.
Well, but they told you she
Mass
fuck.
Mass
Effect.
I think it's 1.
Jesus Christ, hurry up.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 30 minutes after I said that I was going to stop and not use hints anymore. Is this fucking
Kirby-
Yoshi's Woolly shit?
It might be. That or like Kirby has one, I think. It might be Yoshi 2. Epic Yarn. Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Oh, it totally is. That makes sense.
It's just him having a big fucking yarn about shit.
Just having just a chat. Who are you?
Rappa the Rappa!
Freaking... Oh, it is, isn't it? How do you spell that?
You think
Just
I
type in
know?
rapper.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, Rappa the Rappa! Let's go. Oh, Rappa the Rappa 2.
Yeah.
Never
Fuck,
seen
yeah.
it before.
Oh,
Resident
yeah.
Evil Village.
Chris.
The first time I played, I need to play this game because every time I would try to stream it, my computer would blue screen.
Tony
Nice.
Hawk
Is this Skate or Tony Hawk?
17.
That's Tony Hawk's. I think that's like 2. I think it's like Pro Skater 2. Oh, it's
It's still
3.
3. I think it could be 3.
I
I think I got 3, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that now. Who the hell are you? Pigman.
UFO 50.
What?
UFO
Where'd you pull that
50.
from?
What?
Oh, is that the arcade game thing?
That's the one, yeah, by Moss Mouth. That I
Unreal?
know.
Is this an Unreal logo?
I think that is Unreal.
Wait.
I think it's a straight up Unreal tournament.
Oh, is it Quake logo? Am I thinking of Quake?
Oh, it might be Quake, like the original Quake. No, it is
Quake a party. Quake a party. No, I don't know what the AP is supposed to mean.
Quake 2. Is it Quake 3?
Arena.
Is it Arena?
Let's find out.
It's Arena.
That is
Right.
Arena. Fuck me. It's Half-Life. Half-Life something. It's not one of the main games.
Episode 1, Blue Shift,
Blue-
Opposing Force.
It's Opposing Forces.
Space Marine.
3.
Space
No, it's
Marine.
not Space Marine, specifically.
That is Space Marine.
Is it just Space Marine, though?
Yeah.
It's something else, isn't it? Oh,
I think it's Space Marine 2.
It's
not
The Witcher
Space Marine.
3.
It's The Witcher.
Oh my god, it is. It has the same color screen. Is
It does
Hearts
have
of
the
Stone?
exact same. This is just Space
Yeah.
Marine with The Witcher. It's
It's
the only other one we
fun,
haven't
yeah.
guessed.
Kid.
Ghost of
Runner.
Ghost
That's
of
the one
Runners.
I always forget.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima.
This is this game, Monkey Island.
Is it Monkey Island? Yeah.
I don't know which one.
Escape from. Oh no! You can see at the top.
Courage,
Each-
Revenge, LeChuck's
Revenge?
Revenge. Mortal Kombat.
That's 11.
11. We're speedrunning these now. This is Sword in the
Hercules.
Stone.
No,
This
it's
is Hercules.
Damn, I wanted to pull out my
Kerbal.
Kerbal Space Program.
There's not even the second one's not even on here.
I wanted to pull out. That's Call of Duty 2. Or no, it is Medal of Honor.
It's
You
not Medal
are
of Honor.
faster
Wait,
and
it's
right.
spelt wrong.
Yeah, it's U.S. Honor.
It's not.
No, it is Call of Duty 2. I called it.
Stop second guessing yourself. Let's go. Speed run.
I know.
This is for it's not For Honor. What is this?
It's gray.
Dark Souls 2.
Is it Dark Souls 2?
It is. I see it. I see it now. It's Dark Souls 1. It's Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3.
No.
Dark Souls 3 is more yellow. It's
Dark Souls 1.
Not any
Scholar
of
of the first sin. Scholar of the first sin.
Scholar of the first sin. Yep.
It's Uno.
Uno!
Yes. So I want to see
Ooh.
it.
Little Nightmares.
I have-
Dead on the
Is that
ground.
Little Nightmares?
It's not.
No.
This war of mine.
Days of... was it? Was it?
This war of mine.
This. Yeah, this War
this
of Mine.
War of Mine. Yeah,
Speed
well,
run.
I want to get to my music.
Valkyria.
That's Hercules. Does that say Hercules or no? No, it's Chronicles, of course. Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, I was thinking 8. It's probably deluxe. It's not deluxe.
No, just straight up 8.
This is Buzz
Toy
Lightyear.
Story 2.
It's Toy Story 2. You're right. It's Toy Story. Buzz to the rescue.
Lightyear to the rescue.
It's Dead. Fucking what's it called? Dead
Rising.
Rising 2.
All right, next one. Ooh, Ghost.
That's
no.
Serious Sam.
Serious Sam. There's the freaking. What is that? There's no way it's Serious Sam.
No.
That's Total War,
Total
right?
War.
Which
Total
one?
War, Rome. No?
It's Rome 1.
It is Total War. Rome Total War. Okay.
Monkey Island Part 2.
I know what this is. It's like space something.
You're right. It's Monkey Island. I got the right one. This is Star Wars. It's not Star Wars. This is not right.
There's no way it's Star Wars.
There's no way this is Star Wars. Lego Star Wars video game?
Is it-
Absolutely not.
Is it Gris? I think Gris is more colorful.
That's not how you spell Gris. It could be Star Wars. Is it the original Star Wars Game Boy game?
No, look at the reflection. That looks too stylized.
I've run out of... What the fuck is Super Star Wars?
Super Star Wars Galaxy!
Zoom in on this guy. That's a Death Star, isn't it?
No.
It's not. It looks like the point of a Death Star, but it's also got like a little teleporter thing on it. I mean, if the game was given to some random person and they said this is a Death Star, I could see them making this. And that's what most of the movie to game games are. But I don't think it is that.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Go it.
I don't know.
Go it. Come on.
Star Fox.
Star Fox? There's no way it's Star Fox, but I'm going it. Is this Children of Mortar? It's not. What is that?
What the fuck is this?
There's a punching happening and like a scythe made of light.
It's like a dream.
I have no idea what game this is, Victor. Can you help us? What is it?
Yeah, any idea what game this is?
It looks so familiar.
Yeah, I don't. There's something going on that I'm like, this is it. I've seen this before.
Yeah, it almost feels like a card game. I'm getting card vibes. I'm
Yeah,
getting,
the vibes are like
Dreamline.
Slay the Spire. Almost, but it's not. It's not like a platforming. It's not like Hat in Time, but like another. It's like there's. I don't know.
Is it anything like Dreamland? I'm sure there's Kirby's Dreamland, but is it like
Yeah,
Dream something?
Dream. Kirby. Dreams. That's the other thing that's not real.
No.
Dream Daddy. It's Dream
Daddy.
Daddy. I got it.
Does he need to do his
Nice.
hint?
I'm not allowed to do the hint because I should have stopped streaming 40 minutes ago.
Got somewhere important to be.
I got to mow a lawn.
One's gonna mow itself.
I don't get it.
Starlight something?
That Disney Dreamlight Valley is a Disney game. It's not right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
There's a citizen.
Star Wars. It's not. That does look like a weird Death Star thing, but it's not Star
Fury?
Wars. I got nothing.
Ched just said Fury, F-U-R-I.
Oh, what? It's a real thing. You looked it up. You cheating. You're cheating. You're cheating.
Very descriptive of my messages.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, that looks
Ooh,
like
I don't know
Hyperlight
what
Drifter,
that
but
is.
not.
It does, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The shitty Shadow Colossus
Shadow
sequel.
Colossus thing.
Yeah, what's
What
that
was
called?
it called?
Shadow
What
of
was it?
Colossus.
No, it wasn't Shadow Colossus.
No, it
was
wasn't. It's the
something
boy and the
like-
guy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not Ico because it's made by Team Ico. The Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian, that's it. Nice. Game of Thrones.
That's right.
Game of Thrones. Oh, this is the Telltale one. The Telltale game.
I forgot that it was a thing that existed. Ooh, this is Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor Valhalla. I don't know what. Allied Assault.
Allied Assault.
There you
Yeah.
go. This is Assassin's Creed?
This
No.
is Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Of the. No, it's not. You lied to
No,
me.
It is Tomb Raider. It must be Tomb Raider. I think it's just straight up Tomb Raider. New.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dr. Mario.
Mario.
Dr. Mazzy. Ooh, Tetris and Dr. Mario, actually, if you were wondering.
Oh, Tetris and Dr.
That's what came up when I typed in Dr. Mario, that and Tetris and Dr. Mario. What is this? We are in the pits of games now.
This is the fucking sticks. This is Aladdin.
What is it Aladdin though? Or is it some
Aladdin.
other weird game? There's no Aladdin game. I was thinking it's like a weird Prince of Persia Game Boy game or something.
It was Aladdin
like
with 12.
original.
It's the original
Wow,
Prince
it
of
is,
Persia
but-
game.
So it is just a knockoff of Aladdin. Mortal Kombat. This is the X.
Mega Man? Metroid. Maybe?
That
No.
is yeah, try
Is it Metroid?
Look at the boot.
Is it Dread? Is this the new one?
I don't know enough about Metroid. It could be.
It's not
no,
Dread.
Dread's really colorful. It's not one of the primes or whatever.
Yeah, because they're all 3D looking.
Oh my god.
Super. Is it Return of Samus?
I thought Turn of Samus was on Wii.
No, the primes were on Wii. This was like.
I'll go to
I'll
Return
try
of
Super.
Samus then. No?
Try
You want me to
that
try-
one or Super Metroid. Because Super Metroid was a sequel to Metroid.
Super Metroid, you reckon?
I mean that now says I want to say Fusion.
Fusion or Metro? Super Metroid?
I think Metroid Fusion. Because look at the title. We got an ON.
Alright. Ooh. Zero mission. We
Zero
lost at
mission.
190.
190.
Filthy casual.
Yeah. I do wonder, hang on, what's that? Is it like a... I don't know, my stats. I kind of wanted to see like what the average stats are for Unlimited.
Oh, what's at the top? Is there?
Nah.
There's like a little graph. Was that what you clicked earlier?
Yeah, that's just my stats. So yeah.
Yeah, Jed.
Yeah, we played one
Okay.
game. Oh, this is only for
Yeah.
this game too. Like it'll pop up the different stats. What game you're playing?
Okay.
190 max streak. 1 game played. Beautiful. We're the best. Actually, we don't need to play this again.
Yeah, clearly.
Anyway, I gotta go because I really need to pee and I got stuff to do that
Okay.
we.
I guess you don't want to do the
Yeah.
music one then.
We can do that next time I stream, I reckon.
Okay, next time. Yeah.
All right.
All
Thanks for
right.
playing.
Well, I'll see ya.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I had Ordan70 and Cheb with me. They tend to show up in my stream, Victor. And we were playing Gamedle, Gamedle. It's a free game. You can probably play it on your phone even. It's pretty fun to just like figure out games based on cover art or search terms and that kind of thing if you want to try it yourself. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta get going. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bunny out.